I hope everyone's having a great Sunday afternoon. We are live here in Sioux City, Iowa. Christina, Bob, Brian, Glenn to bring you up the pre-show as we make our way yet to another remarks by President Donald J. Trump here in Iowa.
I am so excited to be back in Iowa. President Trump has been here several times, campaigning, getting ready, having these commit to caucus events. Iowa's a very interesting state for a number of reasons. It's the first in the country. It's a caucus. It's not a primary. We'll get into the details about that. But this is going to be a great event. And I love that he does these, Brian, because he's Donald Trump. And he can get away with not doing some things that smaller candidates can't really get away with, right? Smaller candidates, they have to be doing all of these events. They have to be out. They have to be shaking hands. They got to meet everybody. But everybody in the country, everybody in the world knows who Donald Trump is, and yet he's still doing these small town events. He's doing it the way you're supposed to do it. He's doing it the way the American people need a candidate to run. And I am really excited to see what he's got to say to Sioux City today.
Yeah, but let's be honest. This is 13th time in Iowa this year. Iowa, I tell people that Iowa's kind of spoiled because they get all the presidential candidates to come in here.
Yeah.
And you would think that on a Sunday afternoon, after President Trump has been here 13 times so far this year, that there might be, I don't know, maybe limited turnout. That is never the case with President Trump. And we've seen, we'll get you a crowd shot here in a second, but this place will be packed. And you and I walked in here just a few minutes ago. The line is wrapped around this building, down the street. So chances are some of these people, depending on the how many seats they have blocked up upstairs, will not get inside. But that is not surprising because that is President Trump. That is Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa would overwhelmingly supports the president.
And there's still a party-like atmosphere out front. You've got all of the vendors out there. So if you're in the Sioux City area and you want to come out. There's something for you, whether you get in the building or not. Hopefully we will be able to get everybody in, but it's pretty tight in here already, and the line was still pretty long. But you can come out and you can party with the Trump people out front, whether it's getting the swag, you've got the characters, you've got the big cars all decked out. That's all out front. You can come out and have a good time here in Sioux City, Iowa.
There you go. Wear a jacket. As you guys know, it's about mid-30s here in Iowa. But we're glad you're joining us. And we just came off of two events in Las Vegas. Vanessa Broussard going to the Republican Jewish Coalition, and then also President Trump having a few remarks a little bit later that evening at a local restaurant. Overwhelming support in Nevada for the president. Of course, you've got four major, primary caucus. You've got the Iowa caucus coming up on January 15th, and then you move over to New Hampshire being the first primary, and then you got South Carolina and Nevada. So you've got four states very early on are in play for the 2024 presidential election. And you and I were talking about this last night. Let's unpack and start with Iowa. Obviously, January 15th at 7 p.m. is the Iowa caucus.
Yeah, so what a caucus is, and I think a lot of people may wonder, what's the difference between a caucus and a primary? And a primary, which we're all familiar with, we do it with every presidential election, is the voters vote. It's basically an earlier election for the Republicans, for Democrats. You voted in. In a caucus, it's the parties deciding. And the way they do it here in Iowa is you can be a caucus leader. You can run a caucus. You can do it in your garage. You can do it at a local church. You can do it at an elementary school. And everybody gets together and they all discuss the candidates. And then at the end of the day, they vote for who they want to be their primary ticket, their nominee for the Republican Party. It's a little bit different in the sense that everybody discusses it together and then they cast their votes. So it's like a neighborhood coalition type thing where you'll have someone will stand up and say why Donald Trump should be president, and hopefully nobody stands up and says why somebody else should be president. I think has the nomination, but we got to go through the process.
But if they do, this is the fun part about the Iowa caucus, is they can discuss all the issues right there in your living room. Makes it very unique. So if there's someone that has been, I guess, jaded by misinformation or whatever the case may be, they can talk about it in an open debate. And I like that format. It's very unique to Iowa for the most part.
And it forces involvement, really, because a lot of primaries, people may or may not be informed about the candidates for their primaries. But when you caucus and when you're sitting there and you have to defend your decision, or not, you don't have to defend your decision. You can sit and listen to everybody else defend their positions. it forces you to have some level of knowledge about what you're voting on, which I think we can all agree American voters, all of us, need to have more information.
Yeah, there's got about 2,200 unique volunteers here in Iowa canvassing across the state, getting the information out. I know they have a dedicated team here.
Yep, we got a great team in Iowa.
A great team here in Iowa. We'll get to plenty of that a little bit later, but I do want to talk about our good friends over at the Birch Gold Group, this whole digital dollar, this whole digital currency that's going on right now with the BRICS. They're basically trying to make everything digitized and take away the dollar. Well, don't allow that to happen. I want all of you right now, before President Trump comes on the stage, to text the words Trump to 989898. That is Trump to 989898, and get that free information kit on how you can invest in gold, silver, and precious metals. And there's probably never been a better time to do this because of what's happening in the global markets right now. And we're going to get into what's going on with oil right now and how it might affect the bottom line. But right now, these investments, the uncertainty of another world war breaking out across across this globe, protect your investments, protect your savings. Go over to the Birch Gold Group. Text the words Trump to 989898. That's our friends over the Birch Gold Group. I want to bring you back in here because when we talk about what's going on globally,
right,
it seems like the world is in such chaos, and we've gotten there so quick in a matter of 2.5 years, if you will. We've gone from having no new wars going on right now to now we have, it seems like, obviously we have the Ukraine-Russia conflict. We now have the 23rd day of the Israeli-Hamas conflict. But now you have threats of China and Taiwan. You have all these other threats. The world is so unstable right now, and it's really to the failed policies of Joe Biden.
It really is, and I think it goes to show the importance of the United States of America and a strong America. A strong United States of America creates world peace because nobody wants to take us on. We are so blessed geographically to have large oceans on our east and on our west.
Ocean privilege is what I call that.
Ocean privilege. We have ocean privilege. We have really great geographic territory. We are a unique nation situated on the globe, and based on our Constitution, we're supposed to be a free country, and with a great military, very, very dominating in that field. When we become weak, and when it looks like we're not going to stand up for freedom, and we're not going to stand up for peace and transparency and honesty around the world, and we're going to allow dictators to run rampant, and we're going to allow evil to prosper around the world, evil prospers, and they take advantage of that. And the left has done, unfortunately, a very good job of demonizing our strength. Whether they want to say it's toxic, it starts with toxic masculinity, just saying it's a problem to be a strong man, or it's a problem to stand up for what you believe in. And they take it all the way up to our nation that we should be apologetic for our strength and that we should be shamed because America is a strong, prosperous country. And it couldn't be further from the truth. The world needs a strong, prosperous America in order for the rest of the world to stay free. And that's why they're trying to take us down. That's why these global dictators all over the world are hoping that the Biden regime is successful in bringing America to its knees. But we're in that fight right now.
I also think the freedoms that we extend to others will be the one thing that brings us down internally. You know, we've got people in this country, whether or not they immigrated here illegally or legally, that fundamentally hate this country. They hate what it's built upon. They hate the Judeo-Christian values that our founding fathers wrote all of our rights that we have in. They want to undo that, and we are going to start, in my opinion, start to see more of these public, parades or gatherings, rallies, whatever you want to call them, across these college campuses, recruiting people to be involved in this kind of anti-American movement. It is threatening to all of our democracy. It's threatening to this republic, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. I said this last week. This is the new Black Lives Matter movement. This is the one thing that hits the small town USA, hits the big cities between now and the beginning of the election, to disrupt things, to get people emotionally involved in a cause. And so these students, and we talked about this last night, are just getting swept up in the momentum of all of a sudden caring for terrorists who, let's remind each other, that they're the ones that initially, 23 days ago, started this conflict, Hamas, with their occupation in Palestine. This country could have, we have never in the recent memory for me have been more threatened by an outside source than right now.
I think you're right, and I think you're right about the college campuses. The left thrives, and their mentality thrives on a victim mindset, and so they perpetuate that, and they teach that at these universities. Yeah. They teach you to believe that either you are a victim or you have victimized other people, like this whole idea of white privilege, that these college students who have never done anything, racial in their life are suddenly now ashamed of being white, or ashamed of the fact that they might come, they're middle class, they're an upper middle class family, you should be ashamed of that. And so they preach shame and victimization, and it creates this drive, and that's where it starts. It's fueled at the grassroots, the student level at that point, but it fuels all the way up to this Palestinian Hamas support that you're talking about. I mean, the idea that you have homosexuals and transgenders supporting Hamas just goes to show how confused they've made these people, because transgenders, homosexuals would be the first group that Hamas eradicates. It's absolutely absurd that they would support something like this, yet they're out there saying we support Hamas. Okay, Hamas doesn't support you, so, I mean,
Hamas is using you.
Yes.
To further their agenda,
That's
but
right.
At the end, they want to terminate you.
And that's right, and it goes all the way down. It funnels all the way to these universities that you're talking about. Students, they want to feel empowered. They want to feel like they're making a difference in the world. It comes from a good place where they want to be a part of something that makes society better, but they're lied to and they're misled about the true motives of what's happening in these various factions, and it's creating a lot of confusion.
Well, there's like 2 weeks ago, we had this insurrection, is what I want to call it, at the Cannon office building in front of the Capitol. Imagine that. 15 to 1,800 students, I say students, a lot of them were students, outside on Independence, and then also inside the Cannon building. You had about 500 people were arrested that day.
Which was more than January 6, 2021. I was in the Cannon House office building on January 6, 2021, and there was nothing going on in there, absolutely nothing. Yet they want to paint. That was the building that AOC said, Congressman AOC said, oh, I feared for my life. I didn't know if I'd ever get to be a mother. Nothing. There was nothing going on in there.
Yeah, but this rally started down at the National Mall and made its way up to in front of the Cannon building. But I'm only bringing this up because I was so shocked that how Capitol Police would not notice that we've got 1,000 people so gathering in their building. Now they'll tell you that this is the people's house and that everyone has the right, which I agree with them, to come and let their voices be heard. I 100% agree with that. But it comes to a point where they think, well, maybe there's something bigger at play here.
But it's only the left that's allowed to do it.
It's an organized movement.
It's an organized movement. Only the left is allowed to do it. You have political prisoners in Washington, D.C. right now who have been in prison for years at this point without trial because they were in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Many of them never even went inside the Capitol. They haven't been tried, and they've been held in pretrial confinement with no pending trial date. It's obscene what they're doing to these Trump supporters who were present January 6th. And then you've got these other supporters who, as long as it's a leftist movement, they can come in and do whatever they want.
I talked to a Capitol Police officer the other day. He had been there 24 years. And he said, Brian, I got to be honest with you. I have seen hundreds of demonstrations at our nation's Capitol. I have seen everything from pro-life, pro-choice, gun, anti-gun. I've seen them all. But, he goes, I have never been more afraid for my safety and the public safety than I was the other day, because when you look out amongst this crowd, which has facial coverings, their whole entire body is covered at that point. There's no security check. They're walking down the street openly. At that point, that is a security threat to all of America that in around the Capitol. There could have been a suicide bomber inside. And I know that people online are going to say, wait a minute, he's racially profiling people. Well, I tell you what, when you see that type of violence happening overseas right now.
It's a tactic Hamas uses.
It's exactly what they use. That's a tactic. So it was a little concerning. And so I got to say, as we move towards the election, Christina, you're going to see more and more of this.
Yeah.
Train stations, gathering at train stations, outside courthouses, outside Capitol buildings. You're going to see it.
And it's happening because liberals, well, it's not just liberals, it's liberals and cowardly Republicans have allowed the line to blur between what our Constitution protects and what is just a bald-faced threat. Our Constitution protects peaceful gatherings that are intended to redress grievances with our governments, that are intended to petition our governments, they're intended to use your voice, make your voice heard, and go out and demonstrate lawfully, peacefully, patriotically. But that's not what these Antifa, pro-Palestine, all of these leftist type groups are doing. They're covering their face. And why would you need to cover your face? If your intent was to peacefully protest, just make your voice heard, there's no reason to cover your face.
I've always questioned why COVID's over.
Right.
So there's no need from a health concern. It's to hide their identity
because they have bad intentions. And
Yep.
that goes to the point of what you're talking about, this Capitol Police officer, where he's in fear. Why? Why would he be in fear? Because they clearly have bad intentions demonstrated by the way they're dressed, by the way they carry themselves. And quite frankly, Hamas and these terrorist organizations say it. They don't lie about it. It's our press that's lying about it. It's our media that's lying about it. Hamas's goal is they want to run the entire world under their jihadist agenda.
Well, when they were in the building, they were staffers that were able to take pictures of some of their phones to find out exactly who they are. Now, this is the ceasefire, the Jews for peace. That whole movement is actually defined by the ADL as an anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish organization that wants to fundamentally and economically shut down Israel. So
and the ADL, you're saying the ADL defined it that way?
The ADL defined them as a hate group.
The Anti-Defamation League is a leftist group.
Yeah.
So the left is defining it that way.
That's
it's
correct. But if you want to go in there and their T-shirts say, Jews for peace and ceasefire, all of these things that we all want. Look, we all want peace. We all want, but they're lies, and it's to bring people from these marginalized groups into their group. The LGBTQ, the climate evangelists, the climate, protesters, they're all brought into this one basket of let's march against Israel, and that's what they do.
And it's dishonest. They can't be honest about what they're doing because nobody would support it.
That's true.
And so they wear these shirts about Jews for ceasefire and all of that to confuse people, because they want people to think that there's actually a faction of Jews that are for a ceasefire, or they want to confuse people about which side is which and who agrees on what. And they're just stirring confusion.
And look at Hamas. And I want to be clear here, though, because Hamas is not Palestine, and Palestine is not Hamas. There are people in Palestine that are pushing back on Hamas.
That is true. That's correct. But Hamas is the official government of Palestine.
But they're the ones that put them in charge.
Assuming their election was lawful.
Yeah.
Which,
they're the ones that put them in on that. So. Anyway, we're glad. Let me step aside as we'll step over this way as we kind of show the crowds here as we are live here in Sioux City, which we love. We absolutely love this place, don't we?
I love Sioux City. And Brian, I was excited to learn, you and I both discovered yesterday that there's actually a Sioux City, Nebraska. We drove in and weren't quite sure where we were going. We figured it out all right, but I've got to say that if you are a resident of either Sioux City, Iowa or Sioux City, Nebraska, you have a wonderful community. It's absolutely gorgeous, and there's a light dusting of snow.
Yeah. Hey, we've got a great product here. It is some Trump coasters. How many times have people come to your house, they want to put that sweaty glass of iced tea on a wooden table? Like, wait a minute, don't do that. Let me get you a coaster. We've got these amazing coasters. They're Trump coasters inspired. We got them. The information for the coasters is on your screen right now. Go check out the website. Go put the promo code. You're going to save some money. You've got all these themed stuff. Look, this is the first time I've actually seen coasters. That's amazing.
They're coming up with all kinds of stuff now.
All kinds of stuff. Why not get it for that person in your life that wants to absolutely have everything Trump. So go check it out. They're celebrating, support President Trump. These are rare collectible. Only about 250 sets are made on that. They're superior quality, hot, cold insulated material, and 100% stain and water resistant. That is the fact. Go check it out. Trump coasters for that Trump supporter in your family. I'm step back in here. Good crowd here, as you can see. Now, this is one of these, kind of got a nice nostalgia about this place.
It's a really nice theater. It's kind of it's a little fancier than we're used to.
A little fancier here.
It's a little fancier than what we're used to, like bleachers. In New Hampshire, we were just in a gym, oftentimes out in a field. So it's nice to be in a.
President Trump wants to utilize the facilities that are in the area.
Yeah.
So whatever's in the area, they can do it, they're going to do it. But you're glad you're joining us, Christina, Bob, Brian, Glenn, as we bring this pre-show. Now let's unpack the schedule here. At 2 o'clock here local time is when the program starts. So they'll do a few prayer, national anthem, a couple speakers come out, and then President Trump speaks at 3 o'clock here local time. He's been traveling all over the place.
He's been doing a lot.
You and I both were at Mar-a-Lago the other night for a fundraiser. The next day, he gets on a plane and flies over to Vegas for 2 events.
Yep.
Now he's flying back over here. Would you ever imagine that you'd have, President Trump would be in a position right now flying across the country like he is? I mean, he is such a workaholic, of lack of a better terms. He is so committed to saving this country and is willing to just literally fly across the country every day to do it.
He is. I mean, President Trump is so committed. It fuels him. I don't know how else to describe it other than he is fueled by the idea of saving this country and saving this republic. It's what gets him through all of the attacks. He's had, as we all know, he's had so many legal challenges. He's been indicted multiple times. He's got lawsuits. He's been attacked. They're really using, the left really is using our justice system against us right now as a weapon, and they're targeting most of that ire at Donald Trump. But I would like to give a big shout out to the Trump team here in Iowa. They've done a fantastic job. They have already conducted 85 caucus trainings to train folks how to handle caucuses, and they have commitments from over 1,200 people to caucus, use their facilities, use their home, become a caucus captain, and they've got a fantastic team in place here, and that's all because of the hard work of folks on the ground, people coming to events like this. The Trump team meets them, coordinates with them, invites them to trainings, and they go, and they've already got commitments from over 1,200 people to host a caucus.
And I'm looking at some numbers here. He's got also 37,500 caucus commitment cards back. That's a lot. And he's got 2,200 volunteers that are in here in the state of Iowa. Now, if you just moved to Iowa and you're wondering kind of where is my caucus location, I know there's a website for that. We'll find out exactly what that is and give it to you, because that is important to know that you have to be, if I'm not mistaken, you must be a registered Republican before January 15th at 7 p.m.
That's right.
That you must be registered Republican in order to participate in the Iowa caucus. So make sure you do that. And so a lot of people have moved here. We said this flying in yesterday. This is such a beautiful state.
Amazing.
And there's so many qualities of life here.
It was so great. And you and I fly into a lot of different cities, and one of the perks of our job is we get to see a lot of these smaller communities that we might not normally go to. And we flew into Omaha, and it was just so cool flying in, seeing the plains, and it was just flat like farmland, and you could see the houses in the neighborhoods. Flying into middle America, it just reminds you how much you love this country. It's so different. I live in Florida now, and prior to Florida, I lived in Washington, D.C., which of course is very different than Nebraska and Iowa. And so it was just really fun to fly in and see the beauty of the farmland and the fact that you could see for miles and miles and miles. It was just such a really inspiring flight into Omaha.
Especially coming from these other cities, you come here. And
I mean, I feel that way flying into West Palm, too. I mean, you fly in, you see the water, you see the ocean, and you think, But
I look at the problems, like D.C.'s got problems, and President Trump talked about it a couple weeks ago. He called it, it's a place where graffiti, it's crime.
Yeah.
It's one of the number one carjacking cities in America, crime has overtaken American cities through failed Democratic policies. So maybe why this place makes you feel so good is when you fly into some of these smaller cities, you feel like there's law and order here.
You do.
There's stability here.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's a little bit more rural, you feel safer. You feel like all of the crazies are in the cities.
Well, they are, for the most part.
Are.
You know,
They are.
There's something to be said by having family values, law and order, an educational system that promotes loving this country, teaches what kids need to know, which, by the way, both Chicago and Baltimore both have, I think there's 13 schools in the Baltimore area, 0% of the students actually pass the mathematics state test. 0%.
That is tragic.
Well, we've weaponized the Department of Education in certain states and certain cities.
Well, in a lot of places. And I think it's great. President Trump has already come out and said that he would get rid of the Department of Education, which I think those stats prove a need to get rid of them. And then in Oregon, you and I talked about this. I think this happened a couple months ago. It's not real recent. But Oregon was saying that they were going to get rid of math and reading because it was racially biased.
Right.
They wanted to make sure that minorities could still graduate, so they didn't want to force them to learn to read or write.
It's interesting. I'm sure President Trump might talk about this tonight, about what would you do and what would you say to universities that are enabling these kids to go out and have these pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas rallies. I think you need to take away money. I think as a parent, you need to have a wake-up call to your kids, because I'm going to share an example of what you said earlier. There's a lot of parents right now that have kids that for the first year have gone off to college. They're freshmen in college. They'll come back for Thanksgiving break completely woke. They no longer identify as Johnny. They're now him, he, him. Maybe they don't even identify as a male. Maybe they don't even love this country anymore. Maybe they think that this is the worst country in the world. And you know what? They don't even eat meat right now. So they don't even want that turkey that's on the table. All of a sudden, they're against eating meat. That's what our universities are doing. They're taking people that have grown up in a traditional, American-loving, Christian-loving, God-fearing household, and they're flipping them to hate everything that the parents have taught them to love.
That's true. Did you ever go through a phase where you wouldn't eat meat?
No, never. I did for I watched What the Health, and my daughter flips to vegan immediately.
Okay.
Which is good for her. She eats clean, whatever. I support that. I don't do it because she does it for health reasons. I don't do it for,
I've tried
the slaughter of animals.
I can't do it. I can't make it. I've tried to go through those, like, I'm going to be a vegetarian, I'm going to be a vegan phase, and I never last very long. Yeah.
But it's interesting to see if these parents get their kids back after spending the first semester at college, and they'll find out that, wow, they've radically changed in one semester.
So I was talking to my sister about this. I've got 3 nieces and nephews, and we were talking about when her kids go off to college. And I actually said, I would consider not sending them. I mean, you can go out, you can make money. I mean, because you run the risk of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to have your kids indoctrinated. I mean, what's worse? And then you have to spend money getting them unindoctrinated or, going through the whole process. I mean, I honestly don't know that university is worth the money that you have to spend to go there.
I think depending on your degree.
Yeah, if you want to do something like, if you want to be a doctor, where you actually need a degree to do it, then yes, of course.
An accounting degree, obviously, you got to get it. But these general studies, a marketing degree, a business degree to a certain extent, I'm with you.
I have an MBA.
Well,
I use it all the time.
Yeah. Look what you're doing now.
I know.
No, but to your point, it does depend on what it. I'm a big supporter of trade schools.
And I do use my law degree.
That's
actually.
true. Okay, there you go. Good example.
Some of my degrees are useful.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're trade schools, I think have been undervalued for so long.
I think that's very true. I think trade schools need to make a comeback.
All right, let's talk about oil real quick. I noticed that ExxonMobil had posted up not record cash flow, but near record cash flow and near record earnings recently because of the oil going up between $85 and $90 a barrel here recently. President Trump will talk about being energy independent. So he'll talk about, well, you've heard him say it, drill, baby drill.
Drill, baby, drill. That's right.
And getting jobs back in place that the Biden administration has completely abandoned.
You said it's at $90 a barrel.
It's
right
$85 and $90 a barrel if it's the West Texas crude or the Brent.
President Trump had it down to $25 a barrel.
Yeah, well, and he also had gas at $1.87 when he left office, and now it's well over $5, $6, $7 depending on where you live in this country. But we have gotten away, and we have empowered our enemies because we are now buying oil from people that, quite frankly, do not like us at all, and that, quite frankly, some of those proceeds are going to fund terrorist groups that are turned around to attack us.
Yeah, well, Joe Biden sent $6 billion to Iran, and then within days they attack Israel and say, oh, there's no connection. There may or may not be a connection, but the truth is you just funded them to do something, and you freed up $6 billion worth of whatever they're doing to attack Israel. So, yeah, I mean, what the Biden administration is doing with our finances is wrong.
And think about what he has done with the petroleum oil reserves. Now, that is a reserve that is meant for war or natural disasters.
In an emergency.
But what he did was he drained our reserves to dilute the market value of oil, which would then return lower the price of gas temporarily. Now, it did do that. Very
briefly for a very small amount. It was like 10 to 20 cents.
It is now over. And we have not.
And now we don't have them.
But if we were to fill them up today, Christina, we're filling them up between $85 and $90 a barrel versus doing it when President Trump did it.
Triple what it costs to fill them.
So, how much would that hurt us? Because the oil, before we came on this morning, I was looking at the oil futures and looking at some chats on that. And the oil market right now is so on edge because this crisis in the Middle East is now going to potentially really disrupt oil transportation. Now, so far, ironically, and I did not realize this, it has not affected the transport of oil from that region. But if this does continue, and that was to happen, you would see oil, and some analysts say up 30-40% almost instantly, right?
Really?
What effects would that have on us in the U.S.? A ton.
It has a huge effect, and I know it's more than just putting gas in our tanks, although that's the obvious place where we feel the pinch and where people get upset about that. However, it affects every aspect of our lives. Our trucking, our supplies, all of it. In order to have supplies and even our food moved from one location to another, from the farms to the grocery stores and all that, that's all done through fuel. It's all done with energy. And when we have our energy prices triple, quadruple in some instances, which could go up another 30 or 40% instantaneously, as we see, it causes not just the cost of our personal fuel that we use in our own vehicles or for our own businesses, but the price of goods, the price of clothing, the price of food, the price of everything that moves around our country drastically goes through the roof.
All right, good time to talk about our newsletter as well. Go to rspnetwork.com/newsletter. You'll click on it, subscribe to it. Not only do you get the latest developments that's happening not only in the Trump world, but around the political spectrum, but you also get some very special offers that are exclusive only to our newsletter. So go check it out, rspnetwork.com/newsletter. Our editor-in-chief, Grace Saldana, does a fantastic job of pushing out the articles and stories that you need to know. We will not spam you. We will not sell your information, as we don't do that. We don't sell our email lists. If we did, we could make a ton of money, by the way, but we don't. Go to rspnetwork.com/newsletter and sign up for that today. Okay, let's shift our attention to Joe Biden. And just about, it seems like last week or maybe the week before last, these weeks kind of blend together, that we came to the realization that Joe Biden received a $200,000 check from his brother, James Biden. Oh, and that was from basically, they say it was a loan.
Right.
I say it was peddling and influence peddling from the, from Joe Biden and foreign policy.
Well, if it was a loan, show us the regular payments that Joe Biden has been making to pay off the loan. Because that's usually how loans work, is if you get a loan, you pay it off with at least a little bit of interest. Now, since if this is a loan among family, maybe they had the interest rate very, very low. Okay, fine. And again, we're playing his little game pretending like this is a loan. But let's pretend. show me the payments. Show me the loan payments that he was making. Show me the loan document that confirmed the loan.
Well, it's interesting because Joe Biden has said himself, where's the money? Where's the money? Well, we've got the money. We've got the check. It's in your bank account.
Yeah.
And that is also, if you just realized last week that it was made public that Joe Biden paid over $3 million in cash for a house. Now, for someone who's been in public service for 40-plus years on a salary, sub $200,000 salary, I'm not sure how someone gets $3.5 million to pay cash for a house. That's one heck of a savings piggy bank that you've been using over the last 40 years.
Right.
But my point is this. Jamie Comer and the whole oversight committee has done a fantastic job getting the bank records. This is not just hearsay. These aren't just emails. These are bank records that were obtained legally to prove that Joe Biden used his influence amongst his family members to bring in nothing more than a money laundering scheme through a bunch of LLC shell companies to put that money in. We have the proof. We have the evidence. Now, what will Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, do now that we've got that impeachment inquiry that was brought to the floor by Speaker McCarthy when he was in the chair? So let's see if Speaker Mike Johnson will go forward with this Biden impeachment inquiry and follow up on all the evidence that Jamie Comer and Marjorie Taylor Greene and others have in regards to proving this type of money laundering LLC scam, because we all know who the big guy is, Joe. We all know who the big guy is. I think they're playing the American people for a bunch of fools that for whatever reason we can't connect the dots. And we can't realize this has been going on for years. This was going on under the Trump administration. A lot of people, over 40-plus FBI agents that knew all about this stuff, have basically prevented it from becoming public. So will it happen under Mike Johnson's watch as Speaker? We'll find out.
We'll find out. I think it will. And I think it will because the American people want it. And I think Mike Johnson is actually listening to the American people. Now, you and I did a little bit of digging this morning into his background to see how conservative is he, because the MAGA movement really has gotten very excited about him becoming the Speaker of the House. But we wanted to figure out a little bit more.
They labeled him MAGA Mike, actually.
Right, MAGA Mike, and how conservative is his record? So we were looking it up by the Liberty Score. You can go online and look at this up as well. And it rates members at how conservative they are. And do you want to do that?
Go ahead. We'll do that.
Okay.
Hold that thought. Go ahead.
Okay. And it rates members on how conservative they are. Now, he came up with a 74% rating, which at first you and I thought, I don't know, that's not as conservative as I would have thought based on the recent media.
It's a C score. Is what it comes down to.
So we pulled up a few others to compare. Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, got a perfect 100% score, as did Lauren Boebert. Jim Jordan got a 94%. Chip Roy got 100%. Interesting, Matt Gaetz got an 84. He's at a B. He did vote with the Democrats to oust Kevin McCarthy. I think that hurt him a little bit, but I do think he'll end up going down as very, very good in that regard. Nancy Mace is at 67%. This one is what I thought was right. Hold that thought, because I just want to contrast him with one other person. So I said, okay, maybe Mike Johnson's at 74%. How does that compare to Kevin McCarthy? Was it worth replacing? Kevin McCarthy was at 54%. 54% conservative votes.
There you go.
Means he votes with conservatives half the time and votes with Democrats half the time.
Yeah, which they would say, well, we need someone that's kind of can work the aisle on both sides.
There's no aisle anymore.
There is no aisle anymore. We'll talk about our friends over at somethingtrump.com. Now, this is pretty cool. It's a mystery box that comes to your doorstep, and it's going to have something that's Trump-related in it. It's for low as $8 an item, and they'll send it to you direct, this Trump mystery item. Now, I'm reading this here because it sounds pretty cool. This is an incredible, mysterious, fun shopping experience. Now, how would you like to sign up for something and you kind of know an idea what you're going to get, but you don't know exactly what you're going to get until you get the box and you open it up? It's kind of cool, and it's going to be something Trump. The website is somethingtrump.com. Somethingtrump.com. SupportingTrump.com. Go check it out. It makes for a great gift. And guess what? Once you go on the website, this is the cool thing about it. You're going to get it within 24 hours.
Oh, that's nice.
How many times have you gone to a website to order something? You're really looking forward to getting it. And then it's like 2 to 4 weeks later, you actually forgot you even ordered it.
Yeah. That also can be fun, though, as well, because you forget you ordered it, and then suddenly it's Christmas. It's like, yay!
Yeah, not going to happen here. SomethingTrump.com. SomethingTrump.com is the website. Sign up. Go get, and it can be anything from collectible bills, hats, bed sheets, and many more. Gold bars, even. We've got that for as little as $8 an item. Go check it out. SomethingTrump.com. What a great idea. I love mystery. So, like, if it was a mystery tie club, and you just get a tie in the mail, why not? So
and you know it's going to be something funny. Like, it's going to be a funny gift.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a fun gift.
And it's themed around, hey, you love President Trump, so why not?
Well, why not put Trump bed sheets on your...
Trump bed sheets. Okay, going back to Mike Johnson, we'll see what happens there in the House. I know that he was doing some media hits this morning, says that he is going to move forward on the Biden impeachment inquiry. I think that needs to go to the floor, and I'll tell you why. I want to know who in the Republican Party thinks it's a bad idea to even think about impeaching President Biden. Now, that's what the inquiry is. It's not an it's not an official vote.
Right.
It's a vote to
inquire,
determine if that's something you want to move forward to. Especially with all of the information that's coming out, you have to be a complete idiot at this point to think that Joe Biden is free and clear of all of these allegations that have made it to the surface over the last year.
It's a question of whether or not it's important to look into whether there's corruption within Joe Biden and his family. Right? So, yes, absolutely. There's more than enough there that we need to inquire, do an impeachment inquiry. I think we have a lot more evidence against Joe Biden at this point than the Democrats had against Donald Trump after January 6th.
Yeah.
But, you know, and this whole idea of, and you raised this before, of the Bidens making millions and millions and millions of dollars with no identifiable good or service received in return, meaning they weren't selling a product, they weren't selling a service. There's no record of any service rendered other than selling their public offices.
That's what they did. That's exactly what they did.
They were selling influence.
And if the media, the mainstream media, would take some of these stories and actually look into them, they would know for themselves. But instead, it's war, 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 Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. It's all of that. It's Trump, 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 Trump. That's what they turned out to.
They're all complicit.
One of the things that Mike Johnson also talked about was the funding, additional funding for the war in Ukraine. Now, I'm to this stance where I don't want a single penny going to Ukraine. That's my stance if I was in Congress.
Right.
That's what my take would be. And you know what? I'll go a step further, and I don't want people to take this out of context. I'm not interested in funding a war in Israel as well. I'm here supporting them. I don't mind sending any equipment that they might need, special equipment that they can assist their military. But I don't think we should just be sending checks to Israel to fight Hamas. I personally don't think we're in a position to do that right now. We are $33+ trillion in debt. We have got a major budget crisis on our hand. We have an open border that is literally sending terrorists across our open border. I want to invest in this country. When I say America first, I mean America first. As much as I love the state of Israel and as much as I want to defeat evil and the Hamas, we want to pray for them and provide military equipment and assistance. But giving them your debit card and going, here you go, we're going to go ahead and fill this, I think is wrong. But I will say this, there is money carved out for Israel in a separate defense bill that's already baked in the cake. I don't want any additional funds going.
Yeah, I do want to support Israel militarily, but I also think Israel needs to make the ask, right? This is their war. They need to be the leaders of this because this is their fight to fight. This is not a situation where the United States swoops in and takes over a region. So, yes, I firmly believe in supporting Israel, but let Israel run point on it and make the request of us, and Congress can consider specific requests.
That's an excellent point. And for the record, they have not done that.
Right.
They have not, traditionally, they have not asked for assistance like that in a war. versus Zelensky, who is running around in his green jumpsuit, making every possible visit to our nation's capital as he can to get additional funding for his war with Russia, which ends up being a proxy war for us through Russia. I don't know how that ends. And when you simply bring up the
Somebody's
fact...
going to jail. That's
well,
how
someone's
that
going to jail. But when you start to talk about how you want to pull away from Ukraine, you're instantly called a what? A Putin puppet. You must be a Putin puppet. Well, I'm not a Putin puppet. But what I am against is continually sending tax dollars that we don't have right now to Ukraine.
That we know the Biden, because we've got the bank records, the Bidens are getting kickbacks from Ukraine. So how much of the 100 billion, one or two, how many hundreds of billions have we sent at this point? It's over 100 billion. Has it hit 200 billion yet? I'm not quite sure.
Well, I know there's 34. I think it's 34.1 billion for the first quarter of next year.
Okay.
So already you're
150 billion, something like that. We've already sent 150 billion. What percentage of that is coming back into the Biden's bank account? Do we have to wait another 2 or 3 election cycles before we investigate to figure out, oh, look it, the Bidens made $10 billion by sending all of this money to Ukraine back in 2020 to 2024.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to find that out in 2 election cycles.
And I think it's incredible that when you ask for a peace resolution, and President Trump will talk about that today. He'll talk about that. There is not going to be a World War III if he's in office. There's no longer going to be a conflict in Ukraine with Russia when he's in office. He'll fix all that stuff. He will.
He will.
But as soon as you start to say, why aren't we talking about peace, you're instantly labeled some type of Putin puppet. And when did the Democratic Party be the party of war, and all of a sudden we're the party of peace?
It absolutely flipped. And it's funny because if you remember when President Trump was elected, they were crying, oh, he's going to start World War III, he's going to start World War III, he's going to tank the economy. He did the exact opposite. The economy thrived under him, and there was peace. He actually brought peace to the Middle East. And now you've got Joe Biden and the Democrats back in, and it's not just the Democrats, it's the establishment, because the rhinos are right there with them. And they're back in power, and we're on the brink of World War III. The economy's in the tank. They are guilty of everything that they were accusing Donald Trump of, and Donald Trump was right. Again, he was right.
Think about this for a second. If we're engaged in a war in the Middle East right now, and you've got the war in Ukraine going on, we've got all this military assets going all over the country, if in fact we are dragged into another conflict, do we have the military means to fight these battles that we're being dragged into? Do we have the money to finance this? I will say this. Do we have the willingness for a draft? Do we have these young people that are marching in the streets for Ukraine who've got the flags up in their windows at work and in their homes and apartments, got the flags on their social media profiles? Are they willing to sign up for the military and go fight? My answer is no.
No, they're not willing.
None of them
and it's so funny because all of them that say, we need to be fighting for Ukraine, we need to free Palestine, we need to be doing all this. Okay, well, you can go join the military. Would you like to go?
Go right ahead.
I did. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I served in Afghanistan. I served multiple overseas tours. If you believe in that cause, by all means, go do it. But they don't. This is what they do on every issue, though. They say, not me, you. You give up your money. You go fight for Ukraine. You sacrifice your food sources. But they themselves don't want to actually make any sacrifice or do anything. So I think that's how you know the cause is not worthy of the fight, because nobody wants to do it. And those of us that stand out against it and say, no, I wouldn't join the military today to go fight Ukraine. I mean, then, you're called a bigot or you're called names or whatever. But it's the harsh reality of this. This is not a cause worth dying for.
No, it's not. I told you this last night that I've got 3 kids, and I would not want one of my kids signing up right now and fighting for this country over in Ukraine. Now, let the war come to us on this soil, and that's a different story. I'm willing to give up and drop this microphone right now and go serve our country.
The red states will be safe.
To fight. They would be safe to fight this country against these evil forces. But I think under this Biden administration, he is trying to drag us in to every single global world conflict There is.
Well, they need a crisis. They have to have a crisis before the 2024 election.
Let's go into that real quick. We'll get into this Colorado trial that starts tomorrow, basically tapping into the 14th Amendment, trying to remove President Trump from the ballot in Colorado due to his involvement. Ready for this? January 6th.
Right.
Yeah. We'll get into that. But, okay, so what they're trying to do is eliminate him from the battle, and I think they do that with a crisis.
Yes.
Of course, we can sit there and say that the China flu, the China virus, COVID came from China. I personally feel that the Democrats weaponized what happened with COVID to basically change the way we did elections with drop boxes, mail-in ballots. You know more about this than anybody. And I think the next thing is going to be some type of war, conflict, domestic threat, terrorism threat, something to prevent people from going to the polls next November. What say you?
I think they're throwing everything they can at the wall to see what sticks. They're trying to scare us with new COVID variants, with new viruses, with all of these new medical issues. They're saying there's going to be a lockdown. It's not really working. People aren't buying it anymore. So then while they're trying on the medical front, they're over here trying to stoke and fan the flames of World War III to get us into a world war, to say, oh, do what Zelensky did, right? And say, oh, we're in World War III, we need to delay the election, or we can't have the election, or whatever it is.
Delayed his own election.
Right. No, don't get me wrong. Personally, I don't believe that they will be successful at doing that here in the United States. I know a lot of people have expressed concerns about it. I think it's a valid concern, but it's not one that I think that's actually going to take root.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the Democrats would love to do that. Not just Democrats, the establishment. The establishment would love to do that to keep Donald Trump out of office. And we've seen this in Mitch McConnell, Dianne Feinstein, Joe Biden, all of these really old, incapable politicians that are forcing Americans to pry the control of government out of their cold, dead hands. Because they're just sitting there. I mean, the fact that Dianne Feinstein had a power of attorney for her own estate, yet she was allowed to make decisions for the rest of us in our country, I think it just goes to show that they are just clinging to power as long as they can. And this generation is rising up, and this generation is saying, we're taking it back. We're not going to sit idly by while you guys pass the baton to your successor, who you want to control the United States government. The United States government belongs to the American people, and it's going to be the American people who make that choice. And I think our generation is rising up to make that stand in a way where we really haven't done it in a while.
We're about 9 minutes to the top of the hour. Hey, we also want to thank one of our partners, and we love Mike Lindell. He has been a fantastic voice for not only this America First movement, but also challenge and speak out about the discrepancies in the 2020 election. Mike Lindell has done it all, and we want you to right now to support him. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. He is cash strapped right now. His cash revenue, he's been attacked on the financial front. He's been attacked from his business. And it's time to help him out. So go to his website, mypillow.com/RSBN. That's mypillow.com/RSBN. And you'll get up to, wait for this, 80% off stuff. Used to be 66% off. Up to 80% off as we move closer to Christmas. You got your sheets, you got your dog beds, you got your slippers, you got all that good stuff. And you know what? The best part about all of it, not only is the product, but it's also helping out an American patriot like Mike Lindell. We just said before we came on, we have not seen Mike at a rally in a long, long time. Now, we know once we get on the campaign trail, he'll jump in there, but we haven't seen him right now for a long time. So please go to the website, mypillow.com/RSBN, and go shop and support Mike Lindell.
How about Mike Lindell? He's an amazing patriot, an amazing friend, just a great American. mypillow.com.
You know, it's interesting. I wrote down a thought the other day, and I want you to hear me out on this.
Yeah.
We attack Democrats based on their policies and how destructive they are to our country. They attack Republicans, our character, and they characterize us as being racist, xenophobic, homophobic. That's how they fight politically. We fight Democrats based upon their policies and how they hurt this country. They attack Republicans on a personal level to smear their character.
It's because that's all they have.
And that's all they have.
They don't have policy.
Yeah.
They don't have, who wants to take a flag to the streets or a banner to the streets that says, I sexually mutilate children, or I'm against parental consent, or I stand against parental rights. I mean, some of them do that, but it's such a small percentage. Nobody actually believes their policies are legitimate. Nobody, like, very few people who are mostly insane actually agree with the left.
We talked about this yesterday. We both want floor votes because I like to see people
I'm a big fan of that.
I'm a big fan of that. And there is a bill right now, Protect Children's Innocence Act, that Marjorie Taylor Greene submitted last Congress, and she submitted it again now in this 118th session of Congress. And basically what it does is it makes it a felony to basically, perform gender-affirming care, double mastectomies, castration, puberty blockers on minors. That would be someone 18 and under. Would you believe, Christina, that the majority of the Republican conference is silent on an issue like that? And so I say, bring it to the floor. Let's do a floor vote on it, and let's find out who's for it and who's against it.
Yep.
And maybe that will help shape the primaries that's coming up next year.
How big is the bill? Is there anything else in it besides that?
No, that's it.
Just that?
That's it. If you're 19, you want to go transition, go ahead. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, timeout. It is 6 minutes between the top of the hour. We are live here in Sioux City, Iowa. Program starts at 2 o'clock. President Trump speaks at 3. We'll be back in a few minutes as we're live here in Iowa. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and my employees and I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. With everything going on right now, your rest is so important. That's why we're having the biggest MyPillow sale ever. Not only are my bed pillows as low as $19.98, but you can get the best body pillows ever. Regular $89.98, now only $29.98. Take your rest on the go with our Roll and Go Anywhere MyPillows for only $14.98. And we have our new couch and accent pillows. They aren't just for looks. They have MyPillow's patented adjustable fill that gives you that amazing MyPillow comfort. In this economy, you get the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code and you get deep discounts on body, couch, bolster pillows, and so much more, including my original bed pillows for as low as $19.98. Please order now while quantities last.
What's up, guys? My name is Jaden Hurd, and I have a Christian show called Let It Be Heard, where we analyze culture and current events from a biblical perspective. I highly recommend you guys check us out. We now have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And basically, what happens is we react to videos, we have talking points, we have on guests, and it's very exciting. Come check us out on Rumble on the RSBN channel. God bless you guys.
Right Side Broadcasting is known for panning the crowds, showing the packed arenas, and allowing you to see the truth. They've covered hundreds of rallies, briefings, marches, CPAC, and the historic overturning of Roe v. Wade. Right Side Broadcasting was created in 2015 by our founder, Joe Seals, creating a unique broadcasting experience that allows you to make your own decision rather than force-feeding you an agenda. We don't cut or edit people's words or twist them to fit a particular point of view. We allow our correspondents to be open about their opinions while maintaining journalistic integrity. Right Side Broadcasting wants to continue our legacy with help from people just like you. Your donations and support allow us to continue to be the gold standard in live, unedited event coverage. Help our cause by sharing our broadcasts, subscribing on our social media platforms, and supporting us on our locals community. Your monthly or one-time contributions on our website are crucial in our fight for the truth. Thank you for all of your generous support.
My Towels solved a problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wind dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring-spun cotton that makes my towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get my towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all my towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
mypillow.com.
All right, we're back out here live in Sioux City, Iowa. Christina, Bob, Brian, Glenn, as we prepare for President Trump taking the stage at 3 o'clock here local time. Now, they have a program that started, slated to start, rather,
right
at 2 p.m., so we're excited about that. Going over some of the numbers here in Iowa, this is the 13th time that President Trump has made his way to this great state.
Yep. 13 times. I mean, that is a
this year.
large. Yes,
Yeah.
13 times this election cycle. And he's coming out specifically for Commit to Caucus events coming out. There's a lot of smaller events like this where he's really trying to hone in on specific communities and target specific areas of the state. And, I mean, he's done it. This is now his 13th time. I think he's pretty well covered the state.
Yeah, the state's got about 2,200 volunteers for Iowa. The caucus is on January 15th.
Oh.
Whoop, let's go into the program right now.
Could you please stand with me as we pray? Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this great day. We thank you for your presence that is in this room. God, we thank you for President Trump. We thank you for our future. You are in control. You are our God. We are still a nation under God, and we are under your hand. And so we pray your blessings upon our great nation once again. Restore our great nation once again. Father, we pray for direction for our nation. We pray for protection for our nation against every form of evil coming against us in this hour. We pray that you would raise us up, God, that you would restore our nation. Protect us, God. We love you. We trust you. Your word says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek your face, repent from their sins, turn from their wicked ways, you would hear our prayers and heal our land. We need healing in our land. We need healing for our nation. We need healing for our future. You said you would never leave us nor forsake us. And blessed is the nations whose God is the Lord. You are our God. We put our trust, our hope, and our future in your hands. Bless this nation once again. God, we pray protection over Trump in this hour and over our great nation as we pray for Israel at the same time. We thank you. We honor you. Let your will be done. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on our great nation once again. We thank you. We honor you. We give you praise. You are our God, our Savior. In your mighty name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Barb Clayton to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remove your covers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Adam Brown, Andrew Brown, and Shelley Brown to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare first seen in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Pastor William Clays.
Good afternoon. This is a distinct honor to present today's devotional on behalf of President Trump, and I thank him very much. So thank you, President Trump. My text today is Nehemiah chapter 4. Now, allow me to give you a precursor as to where this chapter comes from. Israel had been held captivity by Babylon and removed from Jerusalem and Israel. As a result, what ended up happening is their city and the nation became in destruction. Walls were torn down. Gates were burned. Things were in total chaos. Well, at one point, what ended up happening is Nehemiah sent back friends is, what's going on in our hometown? What's going on in our hometown country? Because I'm hearing bad news. And the news was true. He's the cupbearer to the king. He goes to the king and he says, I need help. As I see you have a long face, what is going on? How do I help you? And he says, my nation, my country, where God dwells is no longer where it should be. Please send me back with favor so I can go back and repair what's been broken. When they went back and they started repairing, there were so many people that were speaking negativity, tearing him down, threatening him, threatening everybody with death, destruction, doing everything that possible to stop the prosperity and the success that was being built again. It got to the point that even the builders were armed with spears and swords to protect themselves. So the king gave them all this favor, and here's where my text starts. Nehemiah 4, 11 through 15. It says, our enemies said they will not know or see until we come among them, kill them, and put a stop to their work. When the Jews who lived near them came and told us 10 times, they will come up against us from every place where you may turn. Then I stationed men in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall, the exposed places, and I stationed the people and families with their swords, spears, and bows. When I saw their fear, I arose and spoke to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people. Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your houses. Pay attention. When our enemies heard that it was known to us and that God had frustrated their plan, then all of us returned to the wall, each one to his work. When we're doing a good work, you're not going to have everything good said about you. There are going to be cheerleaders. There are going to be the ones that want to lift you up, but there are going to be the ones that want to tear you down and break down the success and the rebuilding of what's been happening. We're feeling that now. Keep in mind that Jesus only did what the Father did. Keep in mind that Jesus only said what the Father said. That's a tremendous example for us to do the same. We only want to do what the Father says. We only want to do what the Father does. And in fact, in Acts 5, 38 through 39, it says this, so in the present case, I say to you, stay away from these men and let them alone, for if this plan or action is of men, it will be overthrown. I have even seen in my own life, when I don't include God in my plans, 100% of the time, it ends up in destruction. 39, it says, "But if it is God, you will not be able to overthrow them, or else you may even be found fighting against God." My wife reworded this when I told her this scripture. She says, "Check yourself before you wreck yourself." I was able to take my church on a missions trip abroad, and I had the opportunity to swim in the ocean. And one of the days we went, the waves were violent. In fact, when we got into the water, the waves were 5 foot above our heads. It was violent. This young boy by the name of Asher, he's 8 years old, and what he does, he is the son of the pastor that we were visiting, and he looks at me and he says, "The waves knock us down." This 8-year-old boy says this, "The waves knock us down," but God holds the entire universe in his hands. The waves knock us down. But yet we have the audacity to stand before God and say, "I know better." But yet we have the audacity to stand before God and say, "I know more." If we simply put our gaze above, the waves no longer matter. The waves are going to try to knock you down. There are going to be people that are going to be against us in this great progress, in this great rebuilding. That's the given. We need to pray for our leaders. We need to be in a position that what we're doing is we're lifting them up. They're hearing enough chirping in their ears of all the lies and everything else that is being implanted in them, saying, "Stop this progress, stop this success, stop what you're doing." But if God is for us, then who can be against us? Our leaders, especially President Trump, has faced scrutiny, criticism, and people have always been trying to knock him down. We need to constantly pray for them and pray for our leaders, pray for our President Trump as he listens to God and does what he says, watches his hand move, and do what he does. Listen again. "But if it is of God, you will not be able to overthrow them, or else you may even be found fighting against God." Amen? Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage State Senator Lynn Evans.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's from Ephesians 6, verses 11 and 12. If you want to look that up, you can go right ahead. We're in a battle, people, and this is a battle of good versus evil, without question, due directly through the actions of our current administration and through their complete and utter show of weakness. The entire world has become unsafe. When America is strong, there is peace. And when America is weak, it gives permission to our enemies to unleash unspeakable horror on our allies and on us. And we're witnessing that right now. President Ronald Reagan called this peace through strength. Donald Trump exemplified this better than any president in our history. If you haven't already, we need to be praying for all those suffering around this globe while Joe Biden hides in his basement. The world was a much safer place when President Trump was in office. And I'd like to take a few minutes here to identify everyone who either has served in the military or is currently serving. Would you please stand up? No, don't sit down yet. Remain standing. I know there's a lot of young people in the crowd today. Kids, look around. You spend a lot of money going to the theaters, to movies with superheroes. There's your superheroes right there. They don't wear capes. They wear uniforms and fatigues. Thank you very much for your service. The left's working overtime right now in an effort to keep President Trump out of the White House. Why are they working so hard to fight against one candidate? Because they know with President Trump in the race, we will take our country back. I recently read a Newsweek article that the FBI is now opening files on all MAGA supporters, all Trump supporters. We are all going to be made targets of surveillance by an agency of our federal government that our taxes pay for. The left isn't even trying to hide their schemes anymore. I don't know if you've heard, but former First Lady, the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, is saying that followers of Donald Trump need to go through formal deprogramming. And why? Because we want to make America great again. Well, I have one thing to say to Hillary Clinton. In the immortal words of Charlie Daniels, Benghazi ain't going away. People, there's never been a threat to our civil liberties in this country like right now in this moment in history. We cannot stand by and let this continue. This is clearly further evidence of the weaponization of the federal government used on the American people to target President Trump and to intimidate us. That is outright, unabashed election interference, pure and simple. Well, I stand here today and I say that the supporters of Donald Trump will not be baited, we will not be provoked, and we will not be intimidated. So what can we do right now as patriots? The upcoming caucus is January 15th, and it is the most important electoral event in our lifetime. Participate. If you have never attended a caucus, make this a priority. Put it in your calendar. There are volunteers with clipboards all over this facility. Some of them grabbed you when you came in. They have cards just like this. Fill one out. Become a caucus captain. All you have to do is stand up and speak on Donald Trump's behalf at your precinct. If everyone here in attendance, and you're looking around the room, we are packed. We have people standing room only. If we all attend and speak at our precinct on behalf of Donald Trump, when the U.S. First in the Nation caucus is over, Donald Trump is the runaway favorite to kick Joe Biden out of the White House. It's been an honor to be here today. Thank you, and God bless this great nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage former acting U.S. Attorney General Matt Whitaker.
I love you. Hello, Sioux City. You know, I love it here. I see my good friend Brenna Bird, the Attorney General. I almost call you by your maiden name. That's how back far we go. Sorry, Bob. I am so glad to be here in Sioux City. You are the tip of the spear. You are the patriots. You are going to deliver the caucus to Donald J. Trump. You know, so much is at stake in 2024 that, you know, as I travel the country, it's pretty clear what's at stake is really the future of the Republic. You know, our founding fathers 247 years ago gave to future generations this Republic, and each generation has had to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And it's now our turn to save this Republic and hand it to the next generation and make sure that freedom reigns forever. And how can all my friends here in Sioux City help protect and defend and continue this great Republic of the United States of America? Well, one way is to vote Donald J. Trump for president. Now, I don't have to, you know, we're just here among friends, but I don't have to tell you that on January 15th at 7 p.m., you need to go to your precinct caucus, and you need to represent the campaign and the president. And one way that we could really use your help is to become a caucus captain for January 15th for Donald Trump. And what do you do to be a caucus captain? It's pretty simple. You go to ia.donaldjtrump.com and you sign up to be a caucus captain. And that would help tremendously. Now, I know there's maybe some people here that are not from Iowa. You might be from Nebraska, or you might be from South Dakota. And I know some of you folks that probably even came down from Minnesota. Probably because you heard it snowed. In fact, where did fall go, right? I mean, it was like we went from summer to winter overnight. But anyway, if you sign up to be a caucus captain, now my out-of-state friends that seem to be congregated here in front, and I know who you are because you showed up and you lined up last night so you could have great seats. And you have to have pretty warm blood to stand outside on a night like last night. But my point is you can talk to your friends in Iowa. You can pick up the phone, you can call, you can text, you can share on social media all of the things that you can do to make sure that Donald J. Trump is the next president of the United States. So remember, sign up to be a caucus captain. Tell all your friends to sign up. Make sure you sign up to be involved in the campaign. Join me in supporting Donald J. Trump. And with you and with the help of so many patriots across this country, we will win Iowa, we will win the nomination, and we will win the presidency for Donald J. Trump. And most importantly, the only way we do this is with God's help and God's blessing. So never forget to pray for Donald J. Trump, pray for his team, and pray for the future of this great nation. Because in 2024, it all comes down to Iowa as first in the nation caucuses, and it all comes down to saving this great country. So God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Brad Zahn, and I'm a state senator from the Des Moines area. And I'm proud to say that I was the first person to endorse President Trump in 2015. And of any other time, we need President Trump. It's scary that everything that's going on. So I'm really excited to be here. He's going to be here pretty soon. And I get the honor. There was a raffle today for a lot of you that signed up to be a caucus precinct chair and speak on behalf of the president. But I get the opportunity to give away this autographed hat from the president. And I would like Cindy Hughes. I don't know if Cindy Hughes is here. Cindy, if you could meet us over here right of the stage, we'll give you this great hat. And on behalf of the President of the United States, I think he's the President of the United States, but I would just say I'm so glad you're here. But the most important thing I want to tell you is it's great to come to these rallies and get all excited. But really, you have to show up the night of the precinct of our caucuses on January 15th. It really is about a half hour or 45 minutes of your time. It's really exciting, but the most important thing is sign up. I know that we've got to get as many people. We have to have a speaker in every precinct in the state of Iowa. So it's great to be at the rallies, but make sure you sign up to go to the precinct caucuses. You're going to see a lot of your friends and neighbors and a lot of people that love this country. So on behalf of President, God bless President Trump, and let's go. The next President of the United States, the 47th President of the United States.
That wraps up about 24 minutes of a little bit of a pre-show action there, concluded by some Halloween music, which has got to be a little timing for this time of year, right?
That would make sense. Oh, it looks like, wait. I thought may have been his walkout music.
That's walkout music. No, I think they're just adjusting the microphone.
Okay,
actually.
no, I was like, if that was someone's walkout music, that was crazy.
If that is walkout music, and I want to know who's walking out.
Yeah, it's a thriller.
All right, let's see if we can get some lights on us here and continue this thing. No one's coming out. Turn the lights. There we go.
Now we can see.
Well, it was getting kind of scary standing in the dark
real
over there.
Scary.
No, but so Matt Whitaker coming out.
He was great.
He was great. You know, I had a chance.
He's native to Iowa.
He is, and I had a chance to talk to him last night about President Trump and this caucus and how important it was that people sign up to be a captain. You know, it's an Iowa captain, a caucus captain.
Yep.
Here in Iowa. So make sure you do that. Go to ia.donaldjtrump.com to also find your location to do this. I want to take a second and give our moderators a shout out today. I mean, these are the people behind the scenes, Christina, that do so much in our different chat rooms that we have, whether or not it's YouTube, whether or not it's Rumble, whether or not it's on Facebook or whatever. They do so much. So our moderators, we've got some moderators that have been here for a long time. Almost since day one.
Thank you, moderators.
Thank you, moderators. They've got to put up with all the trolls that are in there.
There's a few.
There's a few of them. You know what? I have no problem with them. I pretty much deal with them on a daily basis. But thank you, moderators, for doing that and being a part of something special that we have here at Right Side. I know Christina, myself, James behind the camera, Alex on the other camera. We can do our things here at the location, but it's really the people behind the scenes that make us look good, and then also deal with the trolls in the chat room.
Yep,
if they would just give me the login so that I can fight the trolls in the chat room, I think I can get rid of them pretty quick.
I also think there's a reason they haven't given you the login.
True. All right, so we appreciate you doing that. Also, we got our sponsors as well. We want to thank all of our sponsors. We got one. Are we doing the mystery box? Is that the one we're doing right now? Let's see. Yeah, okay, mystery box. So go something.
Trump surprise.
Yeah, the Trump surprise. I mean, that is one of those things where you can subscribe to it, and you get it for as little as $8 an item. But if you like to shop online, you like to get stuff in the mail once a month or however it comes, you can sign up for that as well. This is the right product for you. The information for that is on your screen. So no matter if it's a hat, a pin, a gold bar, it could be anything Trump related. You'll get that shipped to your house So you got to love it because I always love a surprise in the mail.
And you had mentioned before Trump sheets. I just think that's funny.
Hey,
I don't know what they look like.
I'm not
might
sure
be up
they
on the
make them,
screen,
but maybe they do.
Oh, maybe
I don't
they
know.
do. Maybe I made that up. I misheard it.
No, you said that.
Maybe
we were
I
hypothetically
said it.
saying
Oh,
it would be cool to have
we
Trump
don't know
sheets.
what it is because it's a mystery
It's a
box.
mystery, so go sign up for it. It's a mystery. Who knows what it is? But thanks to our moderators for doing that as well. Also, we have Sheila behind us, and you got Ralph. Her father was watching us in Arizona, and you stay here, Christina, in Arizona, and you want to give a shout out to him.
Hi, Dad. Hi, Mom. Hi, Gina. Hi, Robert. Hi, Uncle Dave.
They're all watchers right now.
Lots of folks watching.
Okay, so what is your favorite thing about President Trump so far, and why do we need him right now in this country?
Because he keeps his promises on everything. Yep. And
in your immediate circle, family, friends, church, work, what is some of the major concerns right now with people living in Iowa?
The illegal people coming in. Yeah.
It's amazing how that is consistently an issue everywhere we go, even in a state like Iowa where you're so far removed from the southern border. They're seeing it impact their communities here. It's a very serious issue.
Yeah, drugs, and thank you for coming out here. And of course,
Enjoy
Arizona. Tell your dad to keep fighting in Arizona.
Dad.
Yeah.
Ralph, watching
Thanks,
this,
Ralph.
from Arizona. But she was back there earlier taking a picture, and we just appreciate all of our viewers. Let's talk about the people that are in this room. By the way, there's thousands inside. I haven't seen outside. I would imagine there's still a line going around the building. But
there's lines everywhere.
Mentioned Nebraska, mentioned Minnesota, South Dakota, and all states surrounding this whole area.
Yeah, he got you're exactly right. The shout outs from the folks from Iowa. And then I we know this intuitively that people come from different states to all of the events. But for some reason with Iowa, because it's such a specific caucus event, I hadn't really thought about the other states coming to participate because it's focused on the caucus. But there was a big crowd here from South Dakota, and I liked it when he gave the shout out to Minnesota, and he's like, oh, you came for the snow, and I heard someone shout from the back, this isn't real snow. So I don't think this Iowa snow was up to the standards of Minnesotans.
But I will say this, it came early because I did a little research, and this is one of the earliest snows they've had in the last 10 or so years. So getting a snow before Halloween's pretty rare in Iowa, maybe not in Minnesota, but it is down here.
Right. It's all that climate change.
Yeah. And you know what? I've always said this. The climate does change.
It does change every year.
Continuously, it changes.
Every year.
But we're glad you're here. President Trump is scheduled to speak in about 29 minutes here in Sioux City, and we're glad you're joining us on this Sunday. If you watched our two broadcasts yesterday from Las Vegas, we had Vanessa Broussard was there at the Jewish Republican Coalition at the Venetian Hotel, and of course he had remarks last night. It doesn't surprise you that he's getting these huge turnouts, not only here in Iowa and New Hampshire, but out in Nevada.
Yeah, of course. And what's fun about events like this, like here, this is a packed house. I'm sure they turned people away. I went out during the speeches just to kind of see what was going on out there, and they've already had to close the doors. There are not more people coming in. It's packed. There's still a bunch of people in the standing room only, out in the galleries and then upstairs. So this is packed out. But for Donald Trump, this is a small venue. This is not the 50,000 people rally that we're often used to seeing him. Yet what's interesting about this is every other presidential candidate would kill to have a crowd this size.
Let me tell you something. I saw the morning news that Vivek Ramaswamy was making an appearance at the Blue Bunny ice cream parlor somewhere here locally, and I thought to myself, that's interesting. A dozen people maybe in a little ice cream parlor. No disrespect to Vivek, but I'm just saying this is probably, I got to get the capacity of this place. It's sold out. It's one of these classic theaters. There's probably 2,000 seats in
I was going to say between 2 and 3,000 is what I would estimate. Yeah.
But to your point, they would all love to have a crowd like this, but there's only one person that pulls that crowd, and it's President Trump.
Donald Trump pulls a crowd like nobody else, and he puts on a show like nobody else, no matter where he goes. Whether he's in Las Vegas, and people are following him around the Trump Hotel with this big, the big classic Trump hotel in Las Vegas on the Strip, or in a very classic theater with velvet seats in Sioux City, Iowa. He's going to draw a crowd, and he's going to put on a show, and nobody's going to go home disappointed, because he always knows how to speak to the crowd. And I think people here today are looking for hope. They want to know that America can be saved. They want to know that Donald Trump is in the fight, that he's willing to put up with everything that he's putting up with to see it through to the end, to drain the swamp, to actually accomplish what he has set out to accomplish. And I think people just like seeing him for themselves. They want to see, how's he moving? How's he feeling? How's he doing? Is he the Donald Trump that we all see on TV? And of course, he never disappoints. At every rally, at every speech, we saw it again in Florida just a couple nights ago. He is what you see on TV, but it's nice to see it with your own eyes, and I think that's what people are looking forward to tonight.
And also, Sheila, that we just spoke to, pointed out some of the biggest concerns to her was the open border, was the immigration. And we have now know that the policies that can fix all of these problems were already in place. So when you take a look at the Republican primary and all these other candidates, that all they run on, Chris Christie, is hating on President Trump and saying that he's got 91 federal indictments against him and blah, 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 blah. They never talk about, well, his policies did keep us safe. His policies were best for America. They're more concerned about smearing his personal character than even talk about their own policy to fix this nation's problems. Chris Christie doesn't have a solution to fix this nation.
No, he doesn't. And it's funny, I saw a specific influencer on the left talking about the border crisis, and of course, conservatives were kind of trolling him a little bit, saying, fix it, fix it, fix it. And he wrote back and said, if you think you've got a solution to the border, tell me what it is. And it was like, undo everything you did. You inherited something that was decent. We still needed to work through it, but it was fine. President Trump had largely stopped the flow through. He had stopped the human trafficking. He'd stopped the slave labor market. He'd stopped the sex trafficking market. He'd stopped the flow of abusing minors coming across our border. And Joe Biden, day one, 17 executive orders on immigration, day one in office. The Biden administration undid everything President Trump did. So to this liberal influencer, you think you have a way to clean up the border? What is it? Put Trump's policies back in place.
Yeah, that's what they do, Christina. It's just Trump, 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 Trump. Court case, indictment, personal smears. That's just what they do. And unfortunately, we've got people on the right within our own conference that are taking a page out of that playbook. And I just remind everybody, look at the policies that we had. Look at the world peace that we had. Look at our foreign policy that was in place. Look how we dealt with these countries. We dealt with these evil dictators. We dealt with terrorists. And President Trump likes to share this story about sending a picture of one of the ISIS leaders to him, a picture of his house to his ISIS leader. We didn't lose a single U.S. soldier in 18 months over in the Middle East. So look how much has changed since we've had poor leadership, since we've had a president who doesn't even know how to get off the stage and wanders around, a president who really has not had an open press conference. If I got to look at earlier, I want to say it was November of last year, and I hope I'm wrong, but in the break we're going to look this up. It might have been a year since he's done an open press conference to reporters. I'm not talking about walking out of a room and giving a few remarks and then walking away aimlessly towards the door in his direction. I'm talking about stepping out and taking questions from reporters. I saw President Trump was on the Hugh Hewitt radio show. He took 56 questions during an hour, a little bit over an hour interview. I don't think Joe Biden has took 56 questions since he's been in the office. So people want answers, and they want a leader, Christina.
Yeah.
They want somebody who can stand up and they have the solution.
Who literally can stand up.
Literally stand up.
And I think we'll see President Trump make fun of Joe Biden tonight. That seems to be a regular occurrence in his speeches lately. He did it the other night at Mar-a-Lago as well. And he always makes fun of Joe Biden aimlessly wandering around on stage like he can't figure out how to get off the stage. But and it was the first time I had seen it live where President Trump was making fun of Joe Biden for the stairs that he's using to get into Air Force One. He's calling them the children's stairs, saying Joe Biden can't walk up and down the regular stairs, so they're now using the smaller kid stairs for him. So I'm looking forward to seeing President Trump troll Joe Biden. I know not everyone, the left likes to criticize President Trump, saying, oh, he has mean tweets. I think his mean tweets are better than ever right now because it resonates as so true. I think people weren't used to seeing a president or a candidate back in 2015 who was so honest and transparent to a point of potentially being rude, and it kind of shocked everybody. But now that we see what the establishment has done to our country, what they've done to our livelihood, what they've done to our children, what they've done to our communities, I think people are okay with it. They get it. They understand now what he was doing and what he was saying in a way that I don't think they did in 2015.
I think you're right. You know, I had somebody make a comment to me a couple weeks ago and said, Brian, are you angry? You always seem like you're mad. You're always yelling and screaming, and I am angry. I got to be honest with you, because I look at the policies. I look at what this country was headed to after his 4 years, which 2 of it was wasted because we had Paul Ryan. We didn't do shit in the House. So, you know, that we had 2 wasted years there. He did whatever he could the second half of his administration. But I'm angry because there's solutions right now to fix every problem that we're dealing with, but instead we're deciding to go ahead and have these lawsuits and these lawsuits. And he's going to talk about them today, and you know more about these lawsuits than anybody, but it is all this major distraction to just take him off as an option for the Republican Party. And I blame our own conference is responsible for that. We should not have another debate. There is no more debate. There is no reason for President Trump to step on a debate stage.
That's right.
Let me go give you my sports analogy, right? If I have a 56-game lead on anybody in my division, they don't get the right to go into the playoffs and play in the first game. They're not even on the same stage.
That's right. And Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita, the leaders of the Trump campaign, put out a statement a few weeks ago specifically aimed at the RNC, saying, why are you spending money on these debates? You need to be spending money on cleaning up our elections and making sure that the Republican candidate actually has a fair chance at winning this election. Stop hosting these debates. We need to recognize that Donald Trump is the nominee and clean up our elections to make sure that the Republican nominee has a fair shot at actually winning this election.
And then how about supporting Republicans across the country that may be in a very purple district right now? And I'll give you a couple. There's Mike Lawler is up in New York. There's a couple in California that
Carrie Lake,
running for Senate in Arizona. We need to get behind these individuals and stop wasting money trying to defeat President Trump in the primary. It's not going to happen. Shift those resources to beating the Democrats.
Right.
That's what we need to be doing, not trying to defeat a president, because let's just be honest, these other candidates are just still in this race because they think that he's going to be eventually locked up and taken off as an option for the Republican Party.
That's how disgusting it is. And it's disgusting that the RNC would even entertain that type of thinking. President Trump is who the Republican people in this country want to be the nominee. He's going to be the nominee. And the Republican Party and the Republican establishment need to get behind him at this point. I applaud Mike Pence for dropping out of the race. I'm sure that was a painful decision for him, although it was the right thing to do. I also don't know that many people noticed because he didn't really have much support in the race to begin with, so I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact. But every other candidate who's not named Trump also needs to drop out of the race.
Think about this for a second. Why would you continue to contribute to a political candidate in the Republican Party? You are throwing your money away.
It's hatred. They
exactly what it
hate
is.
Trump so much, they're willing to spend millions or billions of dollars.
I don't get it. The day after the election, it's going to be national. I want my money back because you've been funding someone that had no chance of winning. Hey, I want to talk about our friends also at these Trump coasters. We often talk about the need to, hey, don't put that on that table. You're going to leave a ring on that wooden furniture. But go check out our friends over at the Trump Toasters. They've got celebrate your support. President Trump, these rare collectible coasters, about 250 sets were made. They're hot and cold insulated, and they're 100% stain and water resistant. Go check it out Some just are only $10, so these are a set is only $10, so very affordable. And once again, you're supporting a very patriotic company. Go check them out. These Trump coasters, the information for that is on your screen. Go support all of our partners for today's broadcast. They're a big part, Christina, is why we're able to come to an event like this, is our partners that we have today, like Birch Gold's another one that we're proud to have with us, and so is Mike Lindell over at MyPillow. Go check it out, the Trump coasters, and get yours today. It would make for a great addition for a stocking stuffer, perhaps.
It's a great stocking stuffer, great Christmas gift, great birthday gifts for people who have birthdays coming up.
There we go.
Yep.
You know what I want for my birthday coming up?
It's coming up, guys.
I want people to go to ia.donaldjtrump.com and find out where their location
That's
is.
That's right. Register to become a caucus captain. If you can't become a caucus captain, just register to participate. Become a part of your Iowa caucus. Get involved. Help save Iowa. Help secure Iowa for Donald Trump.
We have to find out where we're going to broadcast on January 15th at 7 p.m. Whose living room are we going to go live from? That's a great idea. And I would love to show it. Because the great thing about a caucus is people can openly debate their differences between candidates. And like I have always said, if you feel like a candidate has a better foreign policy or a better immigration policy, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
I want to hear it. But I don't want to debate personality and characteristic styles. I think that is so 2016, talking about, well, he's going to start a war with North Korea, and then come to find out that didn't happen. To find out he's going to start this, that didn't happen. I want to talk about policies, not personalities.
Yeah.
So I think these caucuses they're going to have on January 15th is something special, and I want to broadcast from someone's home. So you know what? If you got an idea of where we should go, why don't you shoot me an email? That's pretty dangerous right there, but I'll shoot me an email. Go to brian.glenn@rsbn.tv. brian.glenn@rsbn.tv. Shoot me an idea on a broadcast because we need to be somewhere here in Iowa.
I want to do that with you. I want to cover a caucus with you.
We can do that. And then we were thinking yesterday, where are we going to be on election night?
Yes, Mar-a-Lago.
A year from, basically a year away.
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago seems like the logical point of where election central should be.
That's where I would like
but
to
I
be.
want to put reporters in every single swing state.
Yeah.
I want to go in Arizona, Wisconsin,
There's
Michigan.
going to be some great stuff. Kerry Lake's race is going to be awesome. There's going to be key stuff happening in Wisconsin, all the big states we've seen at Pennsylvania. And I spent a couple days in Arizona, in Tucson with the Arizona Federation of Republican Women. Fantastic event. If you're watching in Arizona and you are a female and you're not a member of that organization, please check it out. They were wonderful women who are committed to securing elections and just seeing conservative values restored in politics. But anyway, I'm so happy and so pleased with what I've seen coming out of Arizona. I was very disappointed from 2020 to 2022 that we hadn't made enough of a stride to secure the race for Kerry Lake. And I'm sure several of the viewers have wondered, well, have we done enough?
Can she win?
Now, can she win? And I can tell you from having spent a few days in Arizona recently, Arizona has made great progress. They are on their way to securing 2024. There's still some things that need to take place, but they're in the process of doing it. And I feel very good about 2024 for Arizona. I feel better about 2024 than I did about 22.
Real quickly, spend a minute on talking about the election securities are in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Let's talk about real quickly. Have we done enough in those states to clean up some of the discrepancies?
We're enough, I would say. It's in progress. There's still things that need to take place between now and then, but they are happening. Whatever state you live in, whether you're in one of the swing states, get involved. Mike Lindell put together a great network called causeofamerica.org. Go to cause, C-A-U-S-E, causeofamerica.org. And find a group in your area that's working on election integrity, that's working on securing your elections, because they need to be secured from the precincts up. It's not going to come down. It has to be secured from your precinct and from your county. So get involved in your precinct level, get involved in your county to help secure it. There has been a lot of great progress in a lot of these states. I'm excited about what I see in Wisconsin. I'm excited about what I see in Pennsylvania. Doug Mastriano and Walk is Free People's his organization. Then you've also got Audit the Vote PA. There's a number of great organizations in Pennsylvania who have gone county by county, working to replace county commissioners and make sure that we've got great people in those counties, because we really need to secure the Republican counties. Because as we saw in Pennsylvania from 2020, they did not have enough votes in the blue counties to steal the election. They had to manipulate the votes in the red counties in order to steal it for Joe Biden. So if we just secure our own counties, we will have secured the election enough to make sure Donald Trump can get back in. So there's a lot happening with election integrity in all of these states. Please get involved, become part of the solution. You can also check out my book, Stealing Your Vote, The Inside Story of the 2020 Election, what it means for 2024, if you want to learn more about it. It's available on Amazon, wherever books are sold. But get involved, be part of the solution, because we are going to secure 24.
Yeah, I said this a couple of months ago, that this election we are not going to stand by and watch, I don't know, everyone being kicked out at 10 o'clock at night and told to come back the next day.
Right.
But we find out that a voting machine, they started counting them at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I don't think we're going to see plywood put up in the windows where people can.
They will try. I just don't think they'll be successful.
They're not going to be successful.
They're not going to be successful.
Because there's enough people that just want to make sure that even if I was, think about this for a second.
There's enough people
on both sides.
On both sides, but we need more.
But I would think this. I would think that Democrats would be, if you really think that you have enough people that's going to come out and re-elect Joe Biden, which I still don't think he's going to be the nominee, by the way.
Well,
but if that's the case, then just don't you want to make sure there's no questions at all about the election? I want to make sure I'm as transparent as I get.
They don't care, because right now they are ruling by intimidation. And so it actually serves their purposes to try to convince the American people that there's nothing we can do. And that's a lie from the pit of hell that they want you to believe, that we don't have power, there's nothing we can do, they're in control, we have to acquiesce to what they're doing. And that is not true. It's only true if we stand idly by. So get involved. Make sure you're part of your precinct. If you're here in Iowa, commit to caucus. Become a caucus captain. ia.donaldjtrump.com. Sign up. Become a part of it. The only way they succeed at what you're saying, which is what they want to do, is if we stand by and do nothing. But we are not powerless. We are powerful. The United States Constitution is meant for every single one of us, and every single one of us needs to stand up for it right now.
There you go. You said it in a great way. By the way, you do have a book. I want to point out. But people can buy that book. Yeah. Check it out. The name of the book, and where can they get it?
Yes, Stealing Your Vote, The Inside Story of the 2020 Election and What It Means for 2024. It's available on Amazon or wherever books are sold.
Okay, let's talk about the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Yes.
Many of you probably had to Google who is Mike Johnson. Previous to this whole nomination, I was not familiar with the congressman from, I believe, the 4th District of Louisiana. I am now. I feel like I'm happy with Mike Johnson for what I get right now.
Yes.
I'm optimistic that Mike Johnson is going to do some of the things that many House Republicans have been wanting McCarthy to do. I feel like Mike Johnson will do those things, but yet, just like every politician we've seen, you can talk, but at the end of the day, we want action.
That's right. We've got to see the votes. You were talking earlier about floor votes. Whether they pass or not, floor votes are important because it allows the American people to see where their members of Congress stand. And we're paying attention now. We're paying attention now to the votes in a way that I don't think we'd ever paid attention in the last 20, 30, maybe even 40 years. I mean, up until recently, I was never looking at the record of my congressman. How does my congressman vote? But we're paying attention now. And I think Mike Johnson will do a better job than Kevin McCarthy of actually holding the votes and allowing that process to play out.
Yeah, I want to see recorded votes on things as well. A lot of things in Congress is on a voice vote. So you want to know exactly who your congressman or what your congressman voted for. There's what's called recorded vote. I'm all for votes on looks like we're going to the stage. Here we go. We're live here in Sioux City. Let's listen in.
U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, New York Times best-selling author and founder of the American Cornerstone Institute, Dr. Ben Carson.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It is so good So good to be back in Iowa, even when it's cold. You know, I know when I was campaigning, it was the coldest place, and in the summer it was the hottest place. But it had the most intelligent people, and that was the best part. And so thank you for that warm welcome. You know, you think about the responsibility that the people of Iowa have as the nation's first caucus is done here. And everyone in this crowd has such an important role to play. You know, we know in just 3 short years, the Biden administration managed to undo all the great progress that had been made with the Trump administration. And it's time for us now to undo what they've done and start going back in the right direction. You know, our allies are under attack, and our enemies are menacing the globe. And, you know, we have communism and Marxism infiltrating our country. We have our children being indoctrinated, people trying to make them non-patriotic. People are taking advantage of the fact that children are naturally curious and very suggestible to confuse them about their sexuality. Just crazy stuff that's going on. Inflation is skyrocketing. Crime is out of control. People worried, should I go downtown and have dinner? Maybe that's not a safe thing to do. Maybe I'm going to be carjacked. Religious liberty is being trampled underfoot. They're trying to throw God out of our country. They've forgotten that our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, tells us that our rights come from our Creator, also known as God. And we have millions of illegals crossing our border. And can you imagine that a bunch of them are not terrorists? I mean, 3 years of open borders. If the terrorists are not coming here and planning something, they're guilty of terrorist malpractice. So I'm sure they are doing something, and we've got to get the right people back in place. And, you know, when they do something, guess who they're going to blame it on? They're going to say somehow that it's Trump's fault. Everything, in their opinion, is Trump's fault. Well, what is going to be his fault is bringing our country back again. And, you know, it wasn't that long ago that we had a secure southern border, that we were energy independent, that people could put gas in their cars, they could put groceries in their refrigerator, and we had a leader who was willing to protect our freedom of speech. Now we have people worried when they say something. Am I going to be punished? Am I going to be canceled? I got to tell you something. We need the kind of leadership that will protect us. And we also need courage ourselves. You know, when I was running for president, I discovered that most of the American people had common sense. What they lacked was courage. There were a lot of people who just looked at the floor and they won't say anything because they don't want some negative repercussions. But what we have to remember is that we cannot be the land of the free if we're not the home of the brave. But one man had the courage to take on the political establishment and give the people a voice in Washington with no concern about what it would cost him. You know, Donald Trump lost millions, if not billions of dollars, and he's been attacked constantly and demonized, and yet he's still there. They haven't gotten rid of him. They're trying to do everything in their power to get rid of him because he's the biggest threat to the administrative state and to the swamp. I don't call it a swamp, I call it a cesspool. And they will do anything possible to get rid of him because he's the existential threat to their continuation of power. So don't be surprised at some of the other things that they're going to try, but they see his poll numbers and they're really worried. What those poll numbers tell me is that the American people are a lot smarter than they think they are. And the American people recognize that if the left is successful in using the Justice Department and using our system of checks and balances in an aberrant way to keep him from running or gaining the presidency, then we will have lost the republic. You know, Benjamin Franklin was asked in 1787 after they finished the Constitutional Convention, "Sir, what do we have here, a monarchy or a republic?" He said, "A republic if you can keep it." The way we can keep it is we can put Donald J. Trump back in office. And as I stand here today, I want to offer my most confident and full endorsement of Donald J. Trump because and Donald Trump believes in our freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. And don't you get tired of those people who say you don't need a high-power weapon to go duck hunting? Well, the Constitution and the Second Amendment is not about duck hunting. It's about the right of the people to protect themselves from an overly aggressive government. And we don't want that to happen. So we can fix our country and we can make America great again. And President Donald J. Trump is the person to do that. So welcome to the stage now, my friend and your friend and a friend of America, Donald J. Trump.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That was a great crowd. Look at those people up there. I can't even see them. There are so many people. It's a beautiful place. Well, thank you very much, and a very big hello to a place where we've done very well, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. And thank you also to this incredible state. It's been very good for us, and we have some truly great Americans with us, as you know, and one of the greatest is Dr. Ben Carson. He's been my friend, and Candy. Candy is incredible. I think Candy keeps him that, Greg. You helped him so much. I think without Candy, he'd be nothing, okay? You want to know the truth. He'd be nothing like all of us, right? Candy, thank you very much, and what a great relationship, and what a great man you are, Ben. Thank you very much. We appreciate it very much. Additionally, on this Sunday afternoon, I'm delighted to announce the endorsements, and these are very important to me because I have such respect for people that do this. They are the most respected people of more than 100 great Iowa faith leaders. So I want to thank you, and you're in the room, and I just want to give you applause because the job you do is incredible. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. I won't disappoint you. And thank you for all of your tremendous support. Very special thanks to Senior Pastor Bill Clays. Where's Bill? Bill Clays. Bill, thank you very much with your family. Thank you very much. Look, Trump 20. Thank you, Bill. You point that up in that direction, we're definitely going to make it, right? Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. And Pastor Joseph Hall. Pastor, where's Pastor? Pastor, thank you very much. Appreciate it very much, Pastor. Thank you. Great honor. Let me also recognize a man who has been really something special, our acting Attorney General. To me, he wasn't acting, he was always there. He was always there, Matt Whitaker. Matt Whitaker. He's been there from day one, and you know, we have a very special person with us who endorsed me a little while ago, a very big politician. I don't know, you guys better get working because she's going places. The Iowa Attorney General, Brenna Bird. Thank you, Brenna, very much. She's going places, fellas. You better get working out there. Brenna, thank you very much. Great honor. It was, when you did it a couple of weeks ago, it got all over the country. I don't know, you're doing pretty well because that was a big one. So we need she said we need a new president. We cannot do worse than what we have. We cannot do worse. We cannot do worse. It's horrible what's happening. State Senators Brad Zahn. Now, Brad was my first endorsement in the country, not Iowa, in the country. Where's Brad? He's got to be. He always gives himself the worst seat, the worst location. A self-effacing man. I call him the Marlboro man. Not that he should be smoking. Oh, here he is. Come here. Come here. He usually gives himself the worst. Today he has the best location. Come here. Thank you. Yeah. Say something, please.
Well, as I said earlier, I am very, very excited and honored to be the first person in the United States to endorse the best president of my lifetime, the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
So Sioux City, let me ask you, how many people come from Sioux City? How many people? Huh? How many? Who doesn't come from Sioux City? Where the hell do you come from? Well, it's great. It's great. And Brad has been so fantastic. And also, if I might, Lynn Evans. Where's Lynn? Lynn? Thank you, Lynn. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to receive the endorsements of two people that are also here with us, State Senators Kevin Uhlans. Where is Kevin? Right, Kevin? Thank you, Kevin. And I think Kevin has something very important to go to, and he wants to stay here. But you go ahead, because you're going to hear me speaking a lot over the next little while. but we're going to take this state. But Kevin, I very much appreciate it and the endorsement. And Jeff Taylor. Jeff, thank you very much. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Two very respected people. We have a lot of endorsements, but two very respected people, and your Attorney General, that's been so incredible. So thank you all very much. The whole room I want to thank. We're just 78 days away from Iowa's first in the nation caucuses. I kept you first in the nation. I kept you first in the nation. On Monday, January 15th, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses, so that's your big day to remember, January 15th. But your bigger time is November. We have to really go to town because, you know they cheat. You know that, right? And you know how you beat cheaters? You have to swamp them. You have to swamp them. Not drain the swamp. In this case, you have to build the swamp. Okay, we'll build one. But you have to swamp them, and we will. I think we're seeing numbers that we've never seen before, ever. But we're going to crush crooked Joe Biden next November. We're going to make America great again. We're going to put America first. Under crooked Joe, our borders have been demolished. Drugs and criminals are pouring in. Our economy is a mess. Our schools are in shambles. Our justice system is corrupt. We have a corrupt justice system. Who would have believed? Our Constitution, he said, I would. Did they give you a hard time, too? Did they give you a hard time? Our Constitution is being ripped to shreds. Israel is under attack. And now we have terrorist sympathizers chanting their jihad slogans on our streets, all over our streets. With your vote, we will defend our country. We will defend our Judeo-Christian values, and we will defend Western civilization. And that's what we've got to do, right? That's what we've got to do. If I were president, the attack on Israel would have never happened. Wouldn't have happened. You know, we had Iran in a very good place. They were broke. That's a good place. Now they're rich. Ukraine would never have happened. It would have never, ever happened. Putin would never have done it. Inflation would never have happened. That was started with stupid energy problem. You know, they just said, let's not drill. Let's go to more of the things that don't work. And energy went up at a level that you will soon see again, by the way. You're going to see it again. I see that in California. They just hit $8.15 a gallon. That's not good. And you'll be following, unfortunately, but we're going to get it done. You know, we were at $1.87. Think of that, Ben, $1.87 a gallon. That's when I told you I was going to make a great deal with China, a great deal with Canada and Mexico. I said, go out, buy more land and bigger tractors. Do you remember that? I said, bigger tractors and more land. But most embarrassing is the inept withdrawal. I was getting out of Afghanistan. 21 years was a long time, but we were getting out with dignity, honor. You know, I called up the head of the Taliban and I said, Abdul, don't ever do what you're doing, Abdul, because they were knocking him off left and right. They were shooting, killing a lot of people, especially under Obama. They were killing them, the snipers. And I spoke to him, the fake news media. I don't know, I hope the fake news media, they weren't thrilled. They weren't exactly thrilled. But the fake news went out and they were very upset that I called him. I said, well, who else would I call? He's the leader of the Taliban. He's the one that's killing our people and killing a lot of people. I tell the story, Jesse James, he was a great bank robber, right? Jesse James. I said, Jesse, why do you always rob banks? He said, because that's where the money is, right? That's where the money is. You stupid person to ask a question like that. I rob banks because that's where the money is. Well, I dealt with the Taliban and the head of the Taliban because that's where the killing was. And we went 18 months after that, not one soldier even shot at, and we were losing them left and right. And we would have had a withdrawal that would have been very nice, and we would have kept the big air base. You know, we had an air base, one of the biggest in the world, and not because of Afghanistan, but because it's 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. It would have been nice to keep it called Bagram, and we would have kept that. I was planning to stay there. They gave it up. They ran out at night. I mean, they took the military out first. Before they took out anything, They didn't take the American citizens, many of whom are still there now. A lot of people don't know that. They cannot be enjoyable right now. They can't get out. But they took the military out first, then they tried to take the citizens and the military equipment. We left $85 billion worth of equipment behind. Think of it. How stupid are these people? You know, I hate to use that word, but it's just a very accurate word. How stupid are they? How stupid? And they left all that equipment behind. And now Afghanistan is the second or third largest seller of military equipment in the world. They're selling our equipment that we left behind because they don't need anywhere near. They need about 3% of it. 700,000 rifles and guns, 70,000 trucks and cars, many of them armor-plated, costing millions of dollars to build, airplanes, tanks, goggles, the goggles. They weren't, they're great fighters, but they never fought at night because they couldn't see at night. Now they can fight at night because we left them the best goggles, brand new, never taken out of the box, and better than what we have. Thousands and thousands of goggles. People say, oh, that's not so good. Well, it is. Those are very expensive. Those are treasures. We gave them everything, and what we got is nothing but embarrassment. The most embarrassing moment, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And I think that's one of the reasons that Putin said, hey, if these people are so inept to allow a thing like that to happen, let's go and try and take Ukraine right now. And I think it opened the world to some very bad facts. But the truth is, we defeated ISIS 100%. Ben was with me. 100% of the ISIS caliphate. We did it in 4 weeks. We did that in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. And we knocked out 100% of that. And it was an honor to do it. We were told that we couldn't do it for 4 years. It would take 4 years at least and maybe not be able to do it. We did it in 4 weeks. We have unbelievable military. And that was when I went over to Iraq. Do you remember that? I spoke to some incredible people over there. And they said, sir, I think we can do it in 4 weeks. You have time left over. And we had unbelievable. Our military is great, but we did things that nobody thought we could do. We would not have an open border where countries are emptying out their prisons and their mental institutions. They say, please don't use this term, sir. Insane asylums. That's Silence of the Lambs, right? Hannibal Lecter. Did anybody ever hear of Hannibal Lecter? The young people didn't. The young ones didn't. They don't want to hear about Hannibal. We don't want, but that's, they said it's a very tough term. I said, well, it's inaccurate. They're emptying out insane asylums. They're emptying out their mental institutions. They're emptying out their prisons and jails. And terrorists are pouring into our country. In record numbers, the terrorists are coming in. They show a graph on one of the networks today that under Trump, 0 in 2019. They're showing 2019, 2020, 2020. 0 terrorists, think of that, came in. And then the march begins. They go to 2020, 2021, and now it's numbers that we've never even seen before. And what can be good about that? Whether you're liberal, conservative, common sense, it doesn't matter. I like to say I'm common sense. They say, what are you? You're very conservative. I say, well, I'm basically common sense. The people in this room are common sense. You don't have to say conservative. Somebody would say, oh, he gave up being a conservative. No, I'm conservative. We're common sense. We don't want open borders. We want voter ID. We want paper ballots. We want same-day voting. We want schools that work well and can teach your kids how to read and write and arithmetic. We want a strong military. We want low taxes, right? We want low taxes. We want very little regulation. I gave you the greatest tax cut in the history of the country. We gave you the biggest regulation cut. That's why we had the best economy in the history of America. We had the best economy in the history of our country, and we'll do it again. I think we can do it quickly. Look, they really loused it up with energy. Energy was a disaster. We will say the words, drill, baby, drill. We'll be drilling very quickly, okay? So those big tractors that you bought that take a little more fuel. You'll be very happy in a very short period of time, but you're going to be very happy. But we did great, and they're just running off the fumes of what we did. I was very disrespectful to Iowa. I'd like to apologize because I go around saying, of course we're going to win Iowa. And my people saying, you cannot assume that to this extent. Well, we are, I think we're up by 47 points or something, so we should. But forgetting that. But Ben, they said, sir, it would be nice if you didn't say that because you can't just assume, people may get upset. I said, wait a minute. I got Iowa and the farm states, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and others. I got farmers $28 billion from China. I said, there's no way that Iowa is voting against Trump. There's nothing. You guys were opening up those checks. You say, where the hell did that come from? That came from Trump. I got it from China. Do you think Biden's going to get $28 billion from China? China pays Biden directly. Okay? We're just trying to find out how much. Most corrupt president we've ever had by far, and the most incompetent. Most incompetent. And I never used to talk that way. It's true. But you wouldn't say that because I respect the office too much. But now I hit them differently than I would because they did something to me that's never been done before. They indicted me because I protested a crooked election. They indicted me. They go after people for years. Do you notice they never go after people that rigged the election? They go after people that are complaining about the rigging. Did anybody see anybody with all the things and all the facts we have? And you'll be seeing them come out because we never forget. History, you have to remember, history is a very important word. But they indicted me once, twice, 3, 4. I think they stopped. I heard they were going to do a couple of more, but they said, don't do any more because my poll numbers have shot up. Because people get it, right? People get it. People get it. Did anybody ever hear, he's a very nice fellow, Al Capone. Did you ever hear of Al Capone? Scarface. He had a scar that went from here to here, and he didn't get that scar by playing tiddlywinks, right? Al Capone. Alphonse Capone. If you smiled at him in the wrong way, he'd kill you. He was only indicted one time. I got 4. I wonder if my father and mother are proud of me. Mom, Dad? Over nonsense, over stuff. That's incredible. Over stuff. Think of it. Over fighting an election. 2016 election, almost every congressman, Democrat, said, you're wrong. They made up the Russia thing. Nothing happened to them. They did things that were so bad, so illegal. Nothing happens. When you look at what's going on in this country, we have 2 tiers of justice, and we're going to have it turned around very fast. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen like that. They go after Christians. And I know you have fewer Catholics in this room than you would normally have in a lot of other states, but how about the Catholics? They're going after the Catholics like, what's going on with the Catholics? And they go after parents because they want their school boards to do a better job, and they go after parents. Parental. Can you imagine? I'm defending parental approvals now. We want parental approvals of superintendents in schools, and we want our schools to work right. And they go after those people. They don't go after the people that cause the problems and cause the corruption. So it's crazy, but we're going to have it straightened out fast. For 4 straight years under the Trump administration, I kept America safe, I kept Israel safe, and I kept the world safe. There was none of this stuff going on. None of it. None of it was going on. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, I mean, our country, seriously, you go back 3 years, our country is not recognizable now. It's not even recognizable. You look at what's happened. Bacon has gone up 5 times in like a year and a quarter. 5 times. I saw that this morning. Bacon. What's going on with bacon? Come on, let's get going. But it's gone up bacon, I think I'm not going to order bacon anymore for a little while, but we'll get it back down. But bacon has gone up so much, but food has gone up so much. Everything has gone up. Inflation has been a killer. You know, inflation's called a country buster because you can go back 200 years, 300 years. Countries that have gone out of business, Ben, have been anybody that had inflation. Germany, years ago, inflation, it destroyed the country. And we have it worse than most of these countries. And then they say it's coming down to 4 or 5%, but they don't talk about the fact that you're up here. We got to get the prices back down. We got to get it back down. We're going to be able, and it starts to a large extent with energy. It starts, you know, when your fuel comes down, other things happen. But now it's gotten so all pervasive with the food, and I mean, everything is now hugely, what's happened with inflation, hugely higher. But all over the planet, our enemies knew that one thing with us, that if you try to kill our citizens, we will kill you. We will kill you. And I hate to say that in front of the 100 great pastors and faith leaders and everybody that endorse. We have so many great people. But that's the way we're going to keep our country safe. Which, we have no choice. So faith leaders, I think they agree because they're smart and they understand. And we have to have, thank you, I have one of the 100 that definitely agrees. So that's good. There they are. They're going. That's good. But now we have to keep our country safe. And we do it not because we want to start wars. We do it because we want to stop wars. We want to prevent wars from happening. Remember Hillary? She said, he'll cause a war. He'll cause a war. Look at him, the way he talks, he'll cause a war. I say, no, the way I talk, I'll stop wars. I'm the only president in 72 years that didn't start a war. The only one. No, we didn't stop, but we finished wars. We finished ISIS and a lot of others. We got out of Syria. We got out of Iraq. Remember, I used to say a long time ago, before I did this stuff, before I was a politician, I hate to say that because I can't imagine myself being a politician. It's cost me a couple of $1 billion to be a politician. Everyone else I said, no, we can't do that. I could have made a fortune. The countries are coming. We'd like to build a job and we'd like to have you involved. Billions, I say. I'm telling my kids, sorry, kids, we can't do it. I'm president. I respected the office. And then I get out and I see this stuff that Biden's been doing, and I say, well, I did it the right way. You know, the money. And my kids say, Dad, could we build a job here or there or in the Middle East? Certain countries, they had a lot of money and they'd love to build a nice Trump job. No, kids, you can't do that. It's a conflict. I didn't do that. So I was willing. And, of course, then they made it much worse with legal fees. I have $100 million worth of legal fees, and they're doing good. At least I have good lawyers, because you can spend $100 million, have lousy lawyers too. That happens. But no, I said right from the beginning. I told Ben and Candy a long time ago. I said, you know, it's incredible. As soon as you win, they start coming to you about they want to do this. I told my kids that you can't do that. We can't do that. Too much respect for the office, and. I told you, I had too much respect for the office to hit Joe Biden, where I say he's the most incompetent president, most corrupt president, the worst president we've ever had. Those are tough words, and I would never have done that until they did something that's never been done. They indicted a former president. They never do that. And the only reason they indicted me is that we're leading him in the polls. We're killing them. How about I have one judge in Washington, D.C., who put my trial date the day before Super Tuesday, okay? And it's a trial based on nothing. And they say, the day before Super Tuesday, I have a trial. But that wasn't political, was it? They could have put it anywhere for years and years. They decided to put, because, this stuff could have been brought years ago. They just did this after I announced I'm running. I announced I'm running. All of a sudden, I get... If I weren't running, or if I was in 4th or 5th place, or, like a lot of people, none of this would happen. But when you're leading, these are cheaters. That's a form of cheating. It's a big form. And it's only used in third world countries, banana republics. They do it, I said, has this ever been done before? Not in our country, but it has been done a lot. in third world countries. And sometimes they call them banana republics. But they brought our country to a new level. But that allows, think of this, that allows us to do it to Biden when he gets out. And that would be very easy. But I don't want to do it. You know, once you do that, you've set yourself on a very downward, very bad path. Very bad path. But a thing like this has never happened before. And it is true. I heard 2 more were coming, and they said, don't do it. No, this is killing us. They didn't want to do it. Because every time I go up 7 points, 8 points, right? They did the shirt, right? The mugshot. That shirt is selling like millions and millions of shirts. The mugshot. You believe it? I don't know. And they only took one. They said, did you pose for that? How many times? It was only one. They don't want to waste a lot of... It was no game, sir. And he was very good, Sheriff. In Georgia. Very good. He said, sir, you ready? Yeah. And he said, I said, wait a minute, let me... And then, boom, one shot. It wasn't like I had a choice of 15 to choose from. Normally you would get, there it is. There it is. There it is. Yeah, thank you. Now, you got a lot of them. I see a lot of them. To every American who is petrified that Joe Biden's catastrophic weakness will bring our country to ruin, I make you this promise. As your president, I will restore peace through strength. And yes, I will prevent World War III. We are very close to World War III, and we will prevent it. I know all the players. I know the players. I know the good ones, the bad ones, the weak ones. You know, there's a very powerful player, Viktor Orban. Did anybody ever hear of Viktor Orban? He's the head of Hungary. Hungary fronts on both Ukraine and Russia. And they went to him about 2 weeks ago. They said, what would you recommend that he was interviewed? A very powerful man. His country runs incredibly well. He doesn't allow illegals into his country. He put barbed wire fences all over. He has soldiers every 10 yards. He's got a soldier standing. Nobody came in. And he said he doesn't want his country blown up or destroyed. I mean, you know, it sounds... But he's a very smart, very respected person, very tough guy. They said, what would you do? I would like to know, this is during an interview, what would you do to tell President Biden, what can he do to make things better because the whole world is blowing up? He said, I'd tell him to do 2 things. Number 1 is resign, and number 2 is put Trump in charge again, because under Trump for 4 years we had world peace. And he's the only one that's going to be able to do it. So that was very nice. That was very nice. It's true. We had total peace, 4 years. You know, I was with a group yesterday, a great group in Nevada, and we had a fantastic evening, actually. A very religious group also, very religious people, great people. And we were talking about different things. And I said to them, our security was so incredible. I have the Trump ban, you know, the Trump travel ban. Everybody killed me on that, the Trump travel ban, because it sounds a little nasty. But no, I don't want people coming in from certain countries where it's so bad and they're blowing each other up and they're killing each other, and they want to now come and they want to teach us how their country runs. We don't need that. We don't want to be taught. So we had the Trump travel ban. But I said, you know, the one thing that's nice about not being in, I never talked about the fact that we had no trouble with terrorism for 4 years. Think of it. We didn't have buildings knocked down. We didn't have the World Trade Center. We didn't have any of that. We didn't have anything. And look what happened after I get out. But we had nothing happening, and we had we were very tough on letting people into our country. We had the strongest border in history. We built 500 miles of wall, which was nobody's ever seen. We're going to add another 200, and they could have put it up in 3 weeks, and they decided to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, if you can believe it. But we never had a problem, and I couldn't say it when I was there because I didn't want to be there, Ben, and say, we've never had a problem. Then the following day we have a problem. That doesn't work. But now the 4 years is up, and I said we didn't have a problem. That's because we ran it tough and we ran it smart, and people could come into our country, but they had to come in legally. We had the lowest numbers of illegals coming into our country in history, and we'll get that back again. You know, all Biden had to do is go to the beach like he does all the time anyway. If he went to the beach, you know, he's got a consultant, and the consultant somehow thinks he looks good on the beach. I don't think so. He can barely lift the chair. You know that chair, they weigh about 6 ounces, right? They're meant for old people that have lost a lot of strength. No, that chair weighs, it's very, very light. See that beautiful young person right there, right next to our Attorney General? Could lift that chair with no problem. You know that? You could lift it. But he has a problem. Do you ever see him? He's dragging the chair. And he can't get the feet through the sand. And he's on the beach. Well, if he did that, instead of stopping everything we had, stay in Mexico, remember, remain in Mexico. You had to remain. You think that was easy to get from Mexico? No. All of the different things that we had. I went to Mexico. I said, we need 28,000 soldiers free of charge. They laughed at me. They said, you have to be kidding. I said, no, we want 28,000 soldiers because you're sending people up through these caravans, a name we came up with. We're good at names. But we came up with, and thousands of people were in these caravans. I said, nope, we want soldiers. And they laughed and they said, we're not going to give it. And a woman at the State Department, very good, she was there for 20, 25 years. She said, sir, we've been asking for things like this for years. They're not going to give it. I said, yes, they will, 100%. And so I dealt with the head of one of the top guys at Mexico, a good guy, handsome, tall, strong guy. I said, listen, we're going to need 28,000 soldiers. We want to have a remain in Mexico policy so everyone remains in Mexico. They don't come into our country anymore. On catch and release, we want to release them, but we're going to release them in your country, not in our country. And the medical, as you know, title, we're going to leave that the way it is. We want title. We want to make sure that people that have infectious diseases and all the problems that they have, we don't want them in our country right now. I'm sorry. We don't want to be mean, but we don't want them in our country. We can't do that, sir. I said, yes, you will. You'll do it. He said, no, we won't. I said, how much you want to bet you'll do it? I'm talking to the guy. He said, sir, we won't be able to. 28,000 soldiers free of charge. I'm not going to pay for the soldiers. He said, we won't do it. I said, okay, ready? Here's the story. I have before me a piece of paper. I'm going to sign that paper. And when I sign it, that means on Monday, this was a Friday evening, on Monday morning at 7 o'clock, every single car, they sold 32% of our car industry, intelligently stole. I mean, I got to hand it to him. I really like the president of Mexico, by the way. I do like him. He's a socialist, but as I say, can't have everything. But he's great. He's a great guy, actually, great guy. And I said, you got to sign this because what we're going to do is on Monday morning at 7, Ben Carson was with me. Monday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, every single car and every single product that comes into the United States from Mexico, which is massive, is going to be taxed at 25%. And some people would call it a tariff. But it's going to be taxed or tariff. You call it whatever you want. It means very similar things. We don't have to go into the little tiny differences. But we're going to tax you / tariff you at 25%. Sir, I'd like to make a phone call. So I said, good, please make it quick. Calls up the president, comes back. Sir, it would be our great honor to provide you with 28,000 soldiers. I said, free of charge. He said, free of charge. So with all those losers out there that say, Trump never got you remember I used to say Mexico will pay for the peace of the wall. I'll say, what's going to happen with their fight? I say the wall gets higher. We all had a lot of fun, but I said Mexico will pay for a piece of the wall. Well, there was no legal instrument to do that, but I got much more money because I got them to pay for 28,000 soldiers that guarded our border for years, and our numbers are the best numbers in the history of our country. And honestly, they were great. But, they say you can't do this, you can't do that. It was sort of funny because here's this guy that I'm negotiating. He says, we'll never do that. I says, yes, you will, 100% to 100%. He's looking at me like, is there something wrong with this guy? He says, then 5 minutes later, he said, we would be honored. We would be honored to allow you. We have many things like that. We had the same thing in France. You know why we could go a little longer today? Because it's a Sunday. We're allowed to do this. God said we can take some extra time because it's Sunday. The football games aren't any good today. Right? Right? We'll do this. But, in France, I love to go off the teleprompter because it's so much more interesting, isn't it? Plus, you never know what's going to come out, so you say, with a teleprompter, you can't make a mistake. The only one that can't do a teleprompter is Biden, because he can't. He can't read the teleprompter. He can't do anything. But in France, the same thing. They were going to tax American companies very substantially. I went to Secretary of Commerce, and I went to different people, Treasury, went to a lot of people, said, no, you call them up, tell them we're not going to do that. We're not going to allow that to happen. They're not going to tax our companies. They said, yes, they are. They're going to do it, sir. I said, well, you give them 1 week's notice. They're not going to do it. They came back. They said, no, they're going to do it. I call up Emmanuel Macron. Has anyone ever heard? He's the head of France. He's a good guy, but he's for France. He's for France. He says, make France great again. I say, make America great again. It's very simple. He's for France first. I'm for America first. It's very simple. So I call him up. I say, Emmanuel, I understand you're going to tax a company. Oh, yes, Donald. Oh, yes, we will be doing that. The legislation has passed, and I'll be signing it. I said, do you think it's fair that you're taxing American companies but not other companies? No, Donald. Oh, yes, it will be something we will do. I say, you're not going to do it. No, but we have to. It's too late. The legislation has passed. I will be signing it very shortly. I said, here's the story, Emmanuel. If you do that, every bottle of wine and champagne that's shipped in from France to the United States of America is going to have a 100% tariff placed on it. And he says, no, that would not be fair. I said, oh, well, it's not fair for you to tax our companies because, I got to protect our companies. Not fair. He said, may I call you back in 5 minutes? I said, please. Calls me back in 3 minutes. Donald, we've decided to get rid of that tax. So that was the end of that. That was the end of that. That was the end of that. No tax. Let me give you the bad news. Biden's going to allow it to happen. That's the bad news. But don't worry. In a year, I'll get it off again. Yeah, he's going to let it happen. They don't even know it's happening. They don't even know they don't know what's going on. Our country's being sold down the tubes. As I proposed long before Ron DeSanctimonious tried to steal the idea and pass it on as his own, I will cancel the student visas of terrorist sympathizers on college campuses. Ron DeSanctimonious, first of all, he's getting absolutely clobbered in the polls. And in your state, I think he's now number 3. He's like, the expression, I said, he's like a wounded bird falling from the sky. Oh, there he is. It's Ron DeSanctimonious. He's falling beautifully from the sky. It's a beautiful thing to watch because I got him elected. And when you get somebody elected, they don't go like our great Attorney General. I didn't get her elected. She was wonderful. I endorsed her. I helped her. But she would have done well. I think she would have done well, and I think she would have won. And many people I endorsed her. Ron was dead. He had no chance. He was down real low. And he came to me, tears in his eyes, that he needed help because he was running against a man, the secretary, which a very big thing in Florida. They like me too for this reason, but very big thing, Secretary of Agriculture. Adam Putnam is his name. Do you think Biden could remember all the stuff that I remember? I don't think so. He'd say, let's see, what the hell was his name? He wouldn't tell the story because he wouldn't know to tell the story. But Adam Putnam. And Adam Putnam had like a 40-point lead or something. The election was fairly soon. And this was the primary. And I said, Ron, here's the problem. If George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead and they decided to endorse you, I don't think it would help you. So far, you're gone. No, they love you in Florida. They love you. If you endorse me, I think I could win. I said, well, let's give it a shot. You know why? Because with the impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2, he was one of 150 different congressmen who actually said something nice. He was no Jim Jordan. He was no Mike Johnson, who's going to be great, by the way. But he did stick up for me a little bit, He did. He wanted to get on television to get a little name recognition, so he got up. And I said, let's give it a shot. I endorsed him. He went like a rocket ship. So he was going to lose by a lot, and he ended up winning. And then we got him past the crackhead. You remember the crackhead? But he wasn't a crackhead. He was supposed to be the hottest politician in the entire party. He was a handsome guy. He was going to run, and Ron said, I can't win. I don't think I can win against this guy. And I said, yes, you're going to win. I did 2 or 3 rallies for him. Remember, big, big, beautiful rallies. Thousands of people. Ben Carson came to 1 or 2 of them. And we ended up having incredible. And I said, you're going to win. He said, I don't think so. And he ended up winning. And then 4 years later, they said, Mr. Governor, will you run against the president? And he said, I have no comment. No comment means he's going to run, right? Doesn't that mean that? You know, like this group, it's a smart group of people that I know. You know, these are the front row Joes, right? Aren't you? Joe, stand up. These guys, these are incredible people. They've seen so many. They usually go to the rallies. You know, we'll be doing the rallies when the weather gets a little warmer. And it's even a little bit early, but we'll be doing the rallies. Actually, you know, honestly, when you're like 60 points up, what the hell do we have to do a rally for this? Let's just keep chugging along, right? But thank you very much. I've been to like 70 of them. How many have you been to? How many have you been to? Yeah. 68? 42? Well, that's great. Well, we appreciate it. Front row Joes, they call them. That's great. Great. Thank you, darling. Thank you. So I hit him very hard. They said, don't hit him, sir. He's a Republican. I said, so what? I don't care if he's a Republican. The guy's going to run against me. Can you believe we hit him hard? And by the time he got to it, and I actually think he's very seriously wounded for 28 also, but he's gone down. Remember one thing. If you run for politics, you got to have a little personality, too. You got to have a little personality. And he was, just so we can say, because we're in this territory, he was totally against ethanol, totally. He was viciously against it. And I heard last week he came out in favor of ethanol. One thing about a politician, if they're against something and then they come out because they're in the middle of an election, they always go to where they first came from. That means if he's against ethanol, that means he's against ethanol. He will kill ethanol. There's no question about it. But we're beating him really badly, and we have few people that, I don't know, they're not doing well. I don't want to speak badly about everybody because they're not doing well. Just speak badly about the one that's second, but I think he's going to be third from what I understand pretty soon. To all of the resident aliens who joined in the pro-jihadist protests all over this country, all over the world, this month, come 2025, you will find that we will deport you because these are people that are against our country. I mean, I saw it yesterday. They're screaming death to America, death to Israel, death to America, death to America, and then we're supposed to take care of them. You know, it's very, I dealt with some of the people that we're fighting now, and they came over, and we paid them $750 million a year, and I met with the head people. I don't want to go into too much, but I met with the head people. And they couldn't have been nicer. They were really great. Then they went back into the Middle East and their respective territories, and they started screaming, death to America, death to America. I said, is that the same guy that I was with over the weekend who was so nice? Yes, that's it. That's what their motto is, death to America. I said, how much do we pay them? $750 million. I said, cancel it immediately. We canceled it. If they say death to America. But they've been saying that for years, and no other president canceled it. And it's amazing how nice they were after that. They wanted to be nice, and it sort of worked out. But it's got to work out long term, not short term. That's a short term solution, not a long term solution. Instead of cuddling up to the killers in Iran, as Biden has done, it's horrible what he's done. We had them ready to make a deal. They had no money. They were ready to make a deal. I told China, if you buy their oil, you're not going to do business with the United States. I told the same thing to India. I told it to everybody. I said, you buy their oil, you can't deal with the United States. They make a lot of money in the United States. And Iran was not doing any. You know, when I took over, they had $80 billion in cash. When I left, because of a rigged election, when I left, what happened is they had no cash. They were broke. And when you're broke, you're not looking at terror. You're looking to get your country through a period of time. We would have had we would have had a deal done within, I say, 2 weeks after the election, and it would have been a great deal for everybody, including Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's all. They can't have nuclear weapons. It's too destructive, too powerful. They can't have it. And Biden gets in. As of now, they have much more than $100 billion in cash. They have so much money, they're swimming in the money. But I will once again sanction them until their ability to fund terror is gone. They have to stop with this stuff. They have to stop. It's probably a natural instinct. It's no wonder that crooked Joe Biden and the far-left lunatics are desperate to stop us by weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference. You know, it's election interference. They say if we can damage Trump enough, we're going to win the election, because they can't win it on policy. They can't win it on results. Their results are horrible. I mean, I don't think we've ever, Madam Attorney General, have we ever been in a position where a country is so disrespected, laughed at, we're mocked? We've lost all our allies. We don't really have allies. Even Europe now, they're taking advantage of us at a level that nobody's ever seen. As an example, in Ukraine, so we're in for $150 billion. Now, you know that it's much more important for Europe than us, but we want to see people live, etc. But we're in for $150 billion, and Europe's in for $17 billion. If you add Europe up, if you add all the various countries, they're approximately the same size economy. So I say, why aren't they in for the same number or more? I mean, in theory, and more. So they should equalize. They should come up and they should equalize. They've got plenty, but I don't think anybody from the Biden administration's ever is. If you ask them, if I said to them, listen, we're in for $100 billion more than you. You have to put up the next $100 billion. We have to equalize. Otherwise, we're not going to do it. They'll put up the money, but nobody ever asks them. Same thing with NATO. We were way over our heads in NATO. Many of the countries weren't paying. They were delinquent. Only 8 of the 28 countries were current. We were way current. We were paying 3-4 times what we were supposed to. We were carrying it. And when I went in, I looked and I said, you're going to have to all pay or we're not going to protect you any longer. And I remember the head of a country stood up and said, does that mean that if Russia attacks my country, you will not be there? That's right. That's what it means. I will not protect you. And the money came pouring in. And the head of Secretary General Stoltenberg, he said, I've never seen anything like it. Obama came, made a speech and left. Bush came, made a speech and left. They never said anything. And NATO was dying. NATO was going to die. Now it's rich as hell because of what I did. Everybody paid up. I mean, they paid up or they're in the process. But billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars came pouring into NATO. And he said, I've never seen, I don't know if he'd say it anymore, but I think he would. He would because I'm doing so well in the polls. I think he would. That does have an impact, actually. But I think he would, actually. But hundreds of billions of dollars came pouring into NATO, and that's the money they have. They have a lot of money now. But we have to do that. We have to say on Ukraine, you got to pay up. Why are we 125, 130, maybe more than that? $1 billion, not million, $1 billion ahead of you. Why? And you're right next to it. We're an ocean away. We have a whole ocean in between us. In the Harris poll, we lead the primary field by more than 50 points, just came out, with Trump at 61 and DeSanctimonious at 11. And Bird Brain is at 6. Does anybody know who Bird Brain is? He said, hey, you can have her. I will never run against our president. He's one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. I will not run against our president under any circumstances. 4 months later, I'd like to announce my candidacy. What kind of people are these? These politicians out there. What kind of people do you have here? Ben, you're not that way. Ben is not that way. Better not be that. I'm not going to fight. But no, what kind of people are these? She's been proclaiming for so long that she would never run. I was a great president. I put her in charge of the United Nations. Now, I must say, within the confines of this room on a Sunday, one of the reasons I did it was I happened to love the lieutenant governor of South Carolina. And we moved him. Henry McMaster, he's great. He's a great guy. So he became governor. So I liked it. I got 2 for the price of 1. I moved her over there, and she was fine. But the big thing is she said I'd never run, and then she announced that she's going to run. She said it many times. I will never run against our president. He was a great president. Then she goes, I'd like to announce my candidacy. So we hit her hard. But bird brain, I call her bird brain. Highly overrated. She's a very highly overrated person. But DeSanctimonious is really overrated. Did anybody ever see anybody fall? I think it's got to be one of the worst campaigns in history. He was supposed to be young. He's this, that. He's going to be the future of the party. After people see him make about 3 speeches, that's the end of him. In the latest Ipsos poll of the general election, we're demolishing crooked Joe Biden 49-43. In the Washington Post, we're beating him by 11. Wasn't that a great one? Did you see it last week? Washington Post comes out that we're leading by 9, then they had to correct that to 10, then they had to correct it to 11 or something. But they said, this must be an outlier. This is an outlier. They spend $1 million in a poll, and they're trying to say, the poll is wrong, it's got to be wrong. I think their poll is right. We got to get out and vote, and we got to make sure they don't cheat. Keep your eyes open, do what you have to do, but we got to make sure they don't cheat, because they're going to try and cheat. It's the only way they can win. They have done such a bad job. We did great. You know, we did much better in 2020 than we did in 2016. We got millions and millions more votes, but they cheated like dogs. They used COVID to cheat, including with the legislatures. You know, they didn't get approval from the legislatures and things. They did things. You had the 51 intelligence agents. Remember when they said the laptop from hell was from Russia? But they all knew it wasn't. You know, that was big cheating. A lot of cheating they did. And stuffing the boxes. You see that? You saw that with 2,000 Mules, didn't you? 2,000 Mules. You ever see? Try getting a copy of 2,000 Mules. Try getting a copy. Somebody said, I'd like to get 2,000. They made it almost impossible to get a copy of 2,000 Mules. Dinesh did a great job on that. And true, we're going to stop it. Yeah, it's a big, you're right. We're going to stop it because we're watching it now. We have the best teams of people in the country, and we're going to stop the cheating. Because if we don't stop the cheating, you're not going to have a country. If we don't stop the cheating, you're not going to have a country. So we're going to stop. We're going to stop the cheating. People aren't going to let it happen. They're not going to let it happen. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. That I can tell you. Every time the radical left, the Marxists, the communists, the fascists, every time they indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. Because I'm being indicted for you. And never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. Very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. We're not going to let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way, and we're going to keep standing right in their way. And you have to remember this. This is more than a campaign, what we have. This is a movement. This is a movement. There's never been anything like this in the history of our country. This is bigger than 2016. This is bigger than 2020, where we got millions more votes. I fully rebuilt the U.S. military, created Space Force, and I was the first president in decades who didn't start a war, right? We didn't start a war. Others started wars, stupid wars. Stupid wars. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem, became the capital. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. I've been talking about it for 72 years. I got it done in about 12 minutes. And I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. The problem is this administration didn't do anything with it. They didn't do anything with it. I ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, the best trade deal ever made. They all say a giant win for farmers and manufacturers, Mexico and Canada. Canada. I took on communist China like no administration in history, bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury. No other president got them to pay 10 cents. There's not 10 cents that ever came to the United States. And as I told you, I then gave our farmers out of that money that came in, those billions and billions, $28 billion. And a large part of it came right here to Iowa. I saved the farmers. I saved them. I kept my promise to fight for Iowa ethanol like no one has ever done before. I issued a rule declaring that E15 would be made available all year round and vastly increased the number of filing stations and filling stations by letting them use the existing pumps, which were actually better. To replace the pumps would have cost millions and millions of dollars. And I said, nope, give it to the people. We left the old. I actually said, which are better, the old pumps or the new pumps? And they said, the old pumps are actually much better. And we know that because we know new equipment versus old. A lot of times the old stuff works better. Every Iowa farmer needs to know that Ron DeSanctimonious opposed my $28 billion in relief for the farmers. He didn't want it to go to farmers. And DeSantis fought viciously to terminate the renewable fuel standards, which will kill Iowa ethanol and demolish the economy of your state. It will have a big impact on your economy. Brad told me that. Brad knows. DeSantis called his plan to annihilate Iowa farming industry. He said it was a no-brainer. He was okay with it. He didn't know this. He didn't know he'd be running. He also vowed to gut Medicare and Social Security and voted 3 times to raise the retirement age of Social Security. So remember that when you go to the polls. Unlike Ron DeSantis, you know, it's interesting. You talk about branding. He went for an interview the other day, like on NBC. Branding's very important. They said, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to have Governor Ron DeSantis with us. No, DeSantis, it's DeSantis. Then he actually tried to change his name, right, to DeSantis. He doesn't want DeSantis. He wants DeSantis. And I actually left him a message, never change your name in the middle of a campaign. Do we agree with it? I will always, our Attorney General wouldn't change her name in the middle of a campaign. You'll never change your name, period. I will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors. Always, you can count on it. And I always have. I always have. And I will always be your ethanol champion in the White House. You're going to be in good shape on ethanol. When I get back into the Oval Office, and it's we, because we're going to the Oval Office, we're all going together, I will totally obliterate the deep state, and we will expose every bit of Biden corruption that they're trying to cover up, which is massive, There's never been corruption like that. Just last week, it was revealed that the FBI had over 40 confidential sources providing criminal information on the Biden family, but instead of investigating Crooked Joe, the deep state falsely accused the information as being that of foreign disinformation. Remember when they said Russia? It came from Russia. His laptop came from Russia. Remember the laptop? Yeah, the laptop came from Russia. That's right, Russia. As president, I will be creating a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to shed sunlight on every dark and rotten corner of Washington, D.C., starting with Crooked Joe Biden. And now we can really do that because they've led the path. What they're doing is so bad to this country. To stop the Marxist prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting Republicans, conservatives, and people of faith like you, I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal racist in reverse enforcement of the law. To protect our citizens from foreign threats, I will build a state-of-the-art missile defense shield. I want that so badly. You know, Israel has one, and it works. The technology, you know, Ronald Reagan wanted it, but we really didn't have technology then, and we didn't have technology that worked. Now we have incredible technology. I want a shield over our country so that if some lunatic wants to take a shot at us, at least we have a hell of a chance of coming out okay before we obliterate them. I will end Joe Biden's inflation disaster immediately and we will quickly rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world. We're going to go very quickly. While Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats want to massively raise your taxes, you know, they want to raise your taxes about 4 times and take away the Trump tax cuts, which, as you know, they want to take them away. Again, the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country, bigger than the Reagan tax cuts, they want to take them away. I will make your tax cuts permanent and give you additional tax cuts, and that's what we're doing. And to protect our overwhelming national security interests in a strong domestic farm industry, I will pass crucial tax cuts specifically for farmers so you can invest more land, more equipment, more farm products, all grown in the USA. And by that time, we'll be able to say the beautiful USA. And I will also effectively eliminate the estate tax on death tax. You know, when I got you I don't know if you know, yeah, a lot of you know it, but when I got you the biggest tax cuts in history, included in there was the death tax or the estate tax nullified on your farms. You can leave your farms to your kids, farms and businesses, small businesses. You can leave them to your children if you love your children. If you don't love your children, it doesn't matter. But if you, does anybody in the room not love their children? Yeah, well, this is Iowa. You love your children. I know a lot of places where there's a lot of dislove going on. But, you know, when you pass away, you want your children to have your farms. People were losing their farms because they were being assessed and they were being charged massive taxes, death taxes, estate taxes. And they were losing the farms. The kids were going bankrupt all over the place, and I got rid of that. So now you can leave it. If you love your children, you can leave it to them. And if you don't love your children, it doesn't matter. Because there won't be a tax when you give it to your children. They won't have to go out to the bank and mortgage the farm and then possibly lose it. On day one, I will repeal Joe Biden's insane ethanol industry killing electric vehicle mandate. It's the craziest thing. Craziest thing I've ever heard. The craziest. Everything wants to be electric. You know, they want, here's just a quick little, they want Army tanks now. We have the greatest tanks, the Sherman tanks. We have the greatest tanks in the world. We make them in Ohio. The greatest tanks in the world, they want to make them electric. Now, there's 2 problems. Number one, the battery is so big, you'd have to have a truck behind it. So is this going? So think of it, what they want to do. They want to make tanks electric, and they really don't have the proper type of power. There's a different kind of power. They don't have the same power. So they want to have in a tank so that you go in and you obliterate something, but you do it in an environmentally friendly way. You're going in, we're knocking, look at that tank, it's shooting everything. There's stuff all over the place. Everything is getting blown up. But we've done it environmentally in a very friendly way. No, these people are crazy. They came to me when I was there. I ended it. Sir, we have a type of fuel that would be very good for our new fighter jets. I said, oh, good. Will it have any impact on them? Yes, sir. It'll make them 15% less efficient. But we think we can make it up with technology. I said, supposing you left the same fuel and then you made them 15%. In other words, pick it both up. You pick up 30%. Sir, but we have a thing, imagine? So I rejected that. When I said, we don't want to fuel. Can you imagine? We have the greatest planes in the world, all of this stuff. They want to make it less efficient. And that's the same thing. We want to go over enemy territory in a environmentally friendly way. These people are crazy. One of the worst is the trucking industry. I mean, the cars forget. Look, the cars, you know what? I'm all for electric cars. But, you know, I'm for if you want to go short distance. If you have to go, like, let's take a ride let's drive from Iowa to New Hampshire to see how Trump does the following week in New Hampshire. And on your 9th stop to charge it, when you can't find the electric charger, you know, there's a little joke. It says, the happiest day for a person in an electric car is the first 10 minutes after they get the charge. After that, they become a scrambled bunch of maniacs that say, where do we get the next charge? The first 10 minutes are wonderful. The next 50 minutes, they're saying, where do we go? No, I think electric cars are good. They'll have a problem. They're too expensive, and they don't go far. You know, somebody would say, oh, that's not a very nice, they don't go far. But what's more descriptive? They don't go far. They take a long time to charge also. It's not like, you know, fill it up, boom, 2 seconds later. No, we can't do that. And you should have the right to buy an electric car. I think they're terrific. You know, they're good. But you also have to have the right to buy gasoline-run cars and hybrids, which are good. Hybrids are good. They're not going to give you any of these options. What it's going to do is it's going to make you become home people, because you're never going to be able to drive very far from your home. It's crazy. But here's the craziest of all, the trucking industry. So I meet with the truckers, and they love Trump. They love Trump because Trump's going to let them stay in business. And these guys have hundreds of trucks. These are the biggest guys. They say, sir, they're going to destroy the whole chain. I said, they've already done that, the supply chain. They've already done that. What's to destroy? They want trucks to become all electric, all electric. And here's the problem. So you go out and buy a big Peterbilt. They're good trucks, right? And others, they're good trucks. Peterbilt's great. They're all great. You go out and buy. So a truck, a good big truck, biggest hauler, can go 2,000 miles, big one, good one, maximum, 2,000 miles. An electric one goes about 300 miles. You got a problem there. So you're going to have to stop 6 or 7 times to make up the difference. What's that going to do to our supply chain? The other thing is it has a different kind of power. Electric's powerful, but it's a different kind of power. It's not as good a power at all. And the head of one of the biggest companies in the world in truckers, he's devastated. He said, you know, sir, for 50 years I've been buying trucks, big company. He's got hundreds of these things. He said, and every year they get a little better, they're stronger, faster. It's amazing what they've done. And now in one day, they're going to set us back 50 years. We'll go back to where we were 50 or 60 years ago. They're going to destroy our industry. And there's no talking to these maniacs. You know, you explain it. There's not a person in this room who, after just that short little synopsis, would say, well, let's give electric a shot. You could tell this to the people in Washington, and it would have no impact on them. They say, we don't care, we're going all electric. And by the way, you can't get rid of the batteries because you can't put them in the earth. They say it destroys the earth. They're made in China because China has the material. See, we have gasoline. They don't want us to use the gasoline. They want us to use something that we won't be able to get. It's so crazy when you hear these stories, and they're unyielding. They don't want to stop. Under a Trump administration, gasoline-fired engines will be allowed, but child sexual mutilation will be not allowed. Will not be allowed. Can you imagine you're a politician 10 or 15 years ago and you're saying, we will not allow you to sexually mutilate our children? Could you imagine that's actually a campaign talking point? I mean, what's going on? No, it's evil, it's sick. No, but you're a politician and you say, we will not allow them to sexually mutilate your children. Can you imagine you have to make that statement? It's like men playing in women's sports. Can you imagine? I come up here, it's one of the most popular things I say. I will not allow men to participate in women's sports. The place goes crazy all the time, right? They go crazy. But can you imagine saying it? The weightlifter who lifted like 160 pounds more, 160 pounds, broke the record. For 18 years, the record stood. They'd put a quarter of an ounce on one side of the big barbell, quarter of an ounce on the other side. A young woman would get up, and she's so proud. Her father's in the front row, right where you are, with a very beautiful blonde hair. Right where I'd like to have that color blonde hair. And you got the parents, the sisters, everyone's there, so proud. This young girl, she's a weightlifter, she's a champion. They have a quarter of an ounce and a quarter of an ounce. She grabs it. Mom, I'm going to make you so proud, Mom. She's watching her. Then she gets down. And they're proud, they're clapping, they're going crazy. I can't do it, Mom, I can't. Boom, doesn't do it. Then a guy comes up who transitioned. Have you lifted before, they ask. No, not really. Oh, you've never lifted? No. Oh, well, okay, good luck. So he takes the barbell. Bing, bong. They end up putting 150 pounds more on it. He does it. It's going to be hard. Or the swimmers. How about the swimming records? Young lady, you've heard this one. Should I do this one or not? Because, you know, our first lady hates it when I do it. She says, darling, I love you so much, but this is not presidential when you do the weightlifting. This is not presidential. Or when you do the swimming thing, it's not, you know, and I understand. Or when you dance off the stage. She said, sir. No, she said, darling, I love you. I love you, but this is not presidential. You don't dance off the stage. I say, look, we got a year to go. Everybody loves us. I love everybody. The country's going to hell in a handbasket. Let's do a little dancing. But an attorney general, technically she's probably right. But what the hell? But the swimmer is an even greater case. You have a young lady. These are true stories. You have a young lady, and she's a great swimmer. And, you know, all the talented, like golfers, baseball players, but, you know, when they're 6, they're better than the other kids that are 6, right? You know, it's a special group. And so you end up like in a pyramid, and these are great college swimmers. And she's been swimming against the same people for a long time because she's swimming at a top level. So she looks left and she recognizes everybody. And she looks right and she recognizes everybody. But this guy is right over here. He transitioned. And he's like a giant. She's like, who is that? Holy mackerel. He has a wingspan slightly larger than Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. You know who that is. Wilt the Stilt was fairly large with a wingspan, like a 9-foot wingspan. This guy was a little bit larger. Okay. So he's there. Now she's a little worried because she wants to break the record. And she doesn't want to be embarrassed because her parents are there. Everybody's there. And they go, ready, set, beautiful, surround, go. And they all jump in. And as you know, she got very badly injured that day, right? You know that, right? Horribly, horribly injured. Windburn. He went by her so fast that she was terribly burned. They took her to the hospital. And she will be okay, but she got horrible windburn. And I think he broke the record by like 28 seconds or some ridiculous number. No, this is crazy. And you know, it's very demeaning to the women. And the amazing thing is the women on the teams all know this, and they're all afraid to speak up. Not all, there's a couple that do. But mostly they're afraid to speak up. They don't think it's appropriate to speak up. But it's not going to matter because we're going to end that so fast. We're going to end that so fast. You know, like I told this yesterday, I said I'm not a big LeBron James fan. I'm just not. I'm sorry. But he's a great basketball player. But I'd go to him and I'd say, I want to be a basketball coach. I'll be better than the great John Wooden. I'd say, LeBron, would you like to transition? Because I'd like to start a team, and I'll get you and I'll get 5 or 6 other guys, and if you all transition, we are the greatest team in the history of basketball. You'll be playing at 80 years old. You won't even have to take a break. And I will become the greatest coach in all of history. I will go for 30 years without a loss, and my players will average in age about 60. And that's what I want to do. But no, it's so ridiculous, isn't it, though? It's so ridiculous that they can be doing this. And they talk about it so seriously. And then you watch some of these Democrats get up and they try and justify it. There's no justification. And it's very, very demeaning to women. So we're going to end that very quickly. Very, very quickly. I will also sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. You know, I have to say, so remember, Ben, when LeBron James endorsed Hillary? Now, Hillary is small. She's small. LeBron is not small. And they stood on a stage, and Hillary came slightly below his belt. I said, that's the greatest endorsement I've ever seen. This was not a good endorsement. This was not good. This was not good. Now let's get back to our subject at hand. That was a good day. I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And just as I did for 4 years, I will fully uphold, Ben was talking about it before, our Second Amendment, as I've done through thick and thin, right, fellas? We did it, 100%. It's not easy. It is under siege. You do know that. It's under siege. It's not easy to do. It's under siege, but we have to protect. We have to protect ourselves. I will continue to protect innocent life. Look what we did with the Supreme Court. Look what we did. We will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections like they've never been secured before. Once we're in power, we can do that. And our goal will be, as I said, one day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. Very simple. We don't want to have elections that go for 63 days. Why are those votes being moved? You ever see with the wheelbarrows? They have wheelbarrows, they're moving and dumping them. You're saying, who the hell? What's going on? But until then, Republicans have to win. We have to win, and then we're going to change that whole system so that we have honest elections. And in conclusion, this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Israel is under attack. Our economy is cratering. It's cratering. Inflation is out of control. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition, very destructive. Our currency is crashing and soon will no longer be the world standard, I'm afraid to tell you that, which will be our greatest defeat in 200 years. If we lose the standard, we are in a much different place. But I won't let it happen. None of it will ever happen. There's not even a chance. Just like Russia would have never invaded Ukraine and China would not even be having a thought about raiding Taiwan. They never did. Remember, for 4 years, they never did. Nobody talked about raiding Taiwan or going in and having a war with Ukraine. And we would have left Afghanistan with dignity and strength instead of the greatest embarrassment in the history of our country. I believe it was the greatest embarrassment in history. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as crooked Joe Biden and the Biden administration has done. I mean that. Remember, I used to say, a month ago, I was saying if you took the 5 worst, and somebody came up to me and said, sir, I think you could actually go more than that. I said, I never thought of it. Let's go. If you took the 10 worst presidents, this guy's done more destruction to our country than the 10 of them. We're a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. It's totally corrupt, and we will never let it happen. If you want to save America from crooked Joe Biden and the radical left, and they are evil, then get every patriot you know, make sure they are registered Republicans, and get them out to vote in their local precinct caucuses at 7 p.m. on Monday, January 15th. It's Martin Luther King Day. Good day. Martin Luther King. January 15th. That's when it all begins. And I kept you first. Remember that. Nobody else. Nobody else. Other people like to claim it around here. Brad will tell you better than anybody. Brad, I kept you first. Nobody else. It was up to me. And they wanted to move Iowa back in the line. And, I happen to think you have an incredible political pedigree. It's really an incredible pedigree, a beautiful pedigree, and we're keeping it the way it was for as long as I have anything to say, and hopefully that's going to be for a long time. Iowa's going to be first, and I kept, in terms of primary, you're the caucus, in terms of primary, I kept the order that we had for so many years because they wanted to move New Hampshire too, and I didn't do that. I kept that. It's the first primary. Then we go to South Carolina. We kept it. But the Democrats changed everything around. They took you out of position. They took a lot of things, a lot of liberties, and I think you're going to remember that. But we're going to win against them anyway, whether they did that or not, especially here. But we kept you where you are. But we're asking you to commit to caucus for us and to bring as many people as you can to caucus for the campaign and to sign up if you're ready. It's ia.donaldjtrump.com to get involved. If you can do that, you'll have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a big victory because 2024 is our final battle. And with you at my side, we're doing this together. We will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers and fools from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. And we will throw off the sick political class that hates our country so much. We will rout the fake news media. We will rout them. They have to come back and they have to be honest. They are doing so poorly. They have the lowest approval rating they've ever had. They have a lower approval rating than Congress. I'm proud to say that when I started, they had a very high, but we exposed it. But they have to come back and they have to be honest and they have to stop what they're doing. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House and we will finish the job that we started, and we will do things that nobody thought were even possible. The great silent majority is rising like never before, and under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman, they're forgotten, will be forgotten no longer. With your help, your love, and your vote, we will put America first, and we will very simply make America great again. So thank you very much, Iowa. I appreciate it. We'll be back many times, and we're going to be voting in a very short period of time. Thank you very much. We love you. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you all.
An hour and 25 minutes from the president. We want to thank one of our biggest sponsors tonight, one of our partners in this progress, the Birch Gold Group, talking about the crumbling dollar and how to secure your investments. Text the words Trump right now to 989898. That's the Birch Gold Group. I'll bring in Christina Bobb as we kind of recap our thoughts. Obviously, the president talking about January 15th of this next year. That is the caucus night here in Iowa.
That is commit to caucus. If you're local here in Iowa, please get involved in your local caucus. If you don't know how to find it, you can go to ia.donaldjtrump.com, find your local area, and become a caucus captain even.
Obviously, farming is really big here in Iowa, in the Midwest. The president talking about his commitment to farmers and ethanol and getting billions of dollars away from China, something I know that people in this part of the country really appreciate.
They really do value. While President Trump was in office, he really did give a lot of relief to American farmers and really helped kind of save that industry. Under Joe Biden, they're struggling. They're struggling a bit more, and he was pointing out some facts that even Ron DeSantis was not supportive of some of his positions on farming. So I think for the farmers in the area, I imagine they support Donald Trump. And then, you know, the other issues, he hit the border, he hit national security, he hit the economy. For those non-farmers here in Iowa, Brian, we've been to Iowa several times now, And I think, you don't want to take anything for granted, but I think Donald Trump's got a pretty good lock on it.
He does. He also talked about the conflict in the Middle East and how a lot of the conflict, Ukraine-Russia, would not be going on if he was in a White House. He talked about having strength, and we talked off camera that the world simply did not mess with the United States when he was in power, knowing that President Trump had a very strong stance on terrorism. And in my personal opinion, that will be a big issue coming up in this next election. I think people want to feel safe, not only in their communities, but they want to make sure that from a global standpoint that we're not going to be attacked.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think a lot of people are concerned about a potential World War III. And he promised, he said, you get me back in office, I will prevent World War III. And I think everybody knows he can. I also think Democrats and the establishment, even the Republican establishment, are trying to push us into World War III to prevent him from coming back into office. I don't think they'll be successful at that, but that's how evil their power grab is. They would rather have war than let go of their power.
He also talked about defunding and canceling the visas for a lot of students that get involved and a lot of...
We love you guys. Thank you for everything Right Side Broadcasting does. God bless.
You guys get a nice shout out tonight, right?
He did. He loves us. He formed this group. We're going to support him all the way to the end. And you guys keep the good work up.
It's the front row Joes.
Yeah, front row Joes. I gotta love these guys. They're everywhere.
We love Right Side Broadcasting.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. But he also talked about canceling some of the visas from these students that get out and support these pro-Hamas groups.
Too.
And that's going to be, I'm telling you, this is the new movement that we're going to see move towards this next election.
Yep.
And so we've got to take a very strong stance on it. And the president has said that he will do that.
Absolutely. And if you're in Iowa, South Carolina, New Hampshire, or Nevada, get involved here in Iowa in your local caucus, or the others in your precinct for your primaries. Get involved. Make sure you help get voters to turn out, come out here in Iowa and caucus, get involved. It takes everybody. This is an all-hands-on-deck moment. Please do your part and be a part of this solution.
Also, make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can follow me at Brian Glenn TV across the board, at Brian on Truth Social. I know about you as well.
Christina_Bob on Twitter and Instagram, and Christina Bob on Truth.
All right, we also want to thank some of our great sponsors. We've got the coasters. This is pretty unique to our network. If you've got some great drink coasters or 100% waterproof resistance, go check it out. There's a special promo code on those coasters as well. Then, if you like getting stuff from the mail, why not get one of these mystery boxes? We'll get that delivered straight to your door. The information for that is on your screen. Once you go to the website and order, it's a matter of 24 hours. It's at your door, and items as low as $8 per item. And then finally, who cannot forget the great patriot himself, Mr. Mike Lindell? Go over to mypillow.com/RSBN and get savings up to 80% off. What a great way to stick it to the big box stores and get all your Christmas shopping done a little bit early. Go over to mypillow.com/RSBN for all of your Christmas shopping. But then also our Birch Gold Group. I keep stressing this enough. This digital currency, this digital dollar that they're trying to force on this world is not good for your investments. Go over to get our friends over the Birch Gold Group. Want to get some information to you. Text the words Trump to 989898. That is the Birch Gold Group. Now, programming note, I think that we're going to, next time you see us, will be on I believe, the 4th. We are doing the Florida GOP with our partners over at Rumble, so we'll be one of the exclusive streams for the Florida GOP on Rumble. We'll give you more information on that. Then we are down in South Florida on the 8th, Miami area, as President Trump is doing his counter-programming attempt against the Republican debate, which I think is brilliant.
It's brilliant. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how it plays out. He's going head-to-head with the RNC's debate, really, the Republican primary debate down there in Miami. He intentionally scheduled it the same day in the same location.
Yeah.
So
And
Check
so
it out.
and from what I understand, that is a full-fledged rally. So we're going to see probably big crowds there. And so, matter of fact, Christina, myself, and others will be there covering that rally. And we want to remind everybody also, go subscribe to our newsletter. Go to our website, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Not only will you get all the information you need, you'll also get some very special promo offers that are exclusive to the newsletter. So go check it out, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Clothing socks before we say goodbye on this Sunday.
Get involved. It's an all-hands-on-deck moment. Go to causeofamerica.org to find a group in your area. If you're not familiar already, please get involved.
Yeah, also, I'll be back in Washington, D.C. this next week, so we'll be following things on Capitol Hill. So we'll see what Speaker Johnson has in store and what will go to the floor for a vote. I know they're going to push an Israeli military fund aid package. We'll see if that makes it. And we'll keep everything covered. And so for Christina, Bob, Brian, Glenn, we say so long from Sioux City, Iowa. We'll see you next time. Goodbye and God bless.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and my employees and I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. With everything going on right now, your rest is so important. That's why we're having the biggest MyPillow sale ever. Not only are my bed pillows as low as $19.98, but you can get the best body pillows ever. Regular $89.98, now only $29.98. Take your rest on the go with our Roll and Go Anywhere MyPillows for only $14.98. And we have our new couch and accent pillows. They aren't just for looks. They have MyPillow's patented adjustable fill that gives you that amazing MyPillow comfort. In this economy, you get the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code and you get deep discounts on body, couch, bolster pillows, and so much more, including my original bed pillows for as low as $19.98. Please order now while quantities last.
What's up, guys? My name is Jaden Hurd, and I have a Christian show called Let It Be Heard, where we analyze culture and current events from a biblical perspective. I highly recommend you guys check us out. We now have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And basically, what happens is we react to videos, we have talking points, we have on guests, and it's very exciting. Come check us out on Rumble on the RSBN channel. God bless you guys.
Right Side Broadcasting is known for panning the crowds, showing the packed arenas, and allowing you to see the truth. They've covered hundreds of rallies, briefings, marches, CPAC, and the historic overturning of Roe v. Wade. Right Side Broadcasting was created in 2015 by our founder, Joe Seals, creating a unique broadcasting experience that allows you to make your own decision rather than force-feeding you an agenda. We don't cut or edit people's words or twist them to fit a particular point of view. We allow our correspondents to be open about their opinions while maintaining journalistic integrity. Right Side Broadcasting wants to continue our legacy with help from people just like you. Your donations and support allow us to continue to be the gold standard in live, unedited event coverage. Help our cause by sharing our broadcasts, subscribing on our social media platforms, and supporting us on our locals community. Your monthly or one-time contributions on our website are crucial in our fight for the truth. Thank you for all of your generous support.
My Towels solved a problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wind dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring spun cotton that makes My Towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all My Towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
MyPillow.com